If you could take it outside. This room has high echoes, and it's very difficult to hear as well with our equipment, so we would appreciate it if any further discussions could be held outside. For those of you standing in the back, there's some rooms in the front if anybody wants to squeeze in a little bit. And we'll get started. I'm Councilmember Jose Huizar, Chair of the Planning and Land Use Management Committee. We've been joined by Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson, our Vice Chair, and Councilmember Felipe Fuentes. We will start off with item number 11, which is a report from the Director of Planning, and welcome.
Thank you,
Mr.
Chair Huizar and members of the committee. Just three items of interest for the committee. First off, the city has been working on a short-term rental ordinance, and that is to regulate those rentals out of residences that are related to commuter platforms, and such as Airbnb and VRBO and so forth. We have an ordinance that was a draft ordinance prepared to regulate that was released last week. It's in its public review period, which ends on June 6th. We will have a public hearing on that on Saturday, May 21st. And we're expecting to go to our City Planning Commission later in June for the commission to hear that ordinance, and it'll come to the to the Planning and Land Use Management Committee after that. Next up, we're in the process of releasing our revisions to the baseline Manchinization Ordinance and the baseline Hillside Ordinance. We're expecting to release a draft later this week that would begin a 60-day review period. We are planning on having 4 staff public hearings throughout the city in May, and we're expecting to bring that to the City Planning Commission in July, and then subsequent to that it will come to the Planning and Land Use Management Committee. And one final note is regarding the Recode LA process, which is the comprehensive update of our zoning ordinance. We did have a public forum in Boyle Heights this last Saturday. It was very well attended at the Boyle Heights City Hall, and it was it was almost like a perfect kind of space for how we do public forums in the city, and that was very well attended. And we're doing 7 regional forums, and our 7th and last regional forum will be tomorrow night at the Northridge Recreation Center, and that will be from 6 to 9 p.m. in the 12th District. And then after that, our last forum is going to be a virtual forum on April 26th from 7 to 8 p.m. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Bertoni, and thank you for your hard work on some items that we certainly have been waiting for on our end, such as the Airbnb and the baseline Manchinization Ordinance, and those are 2 items we've been looking forward to, and certainly the community plans and moving forward with updates on those has been very helpful. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move on and receive and file item number 11. Item number 4 and 6, we'd love to do on consent. Let me see if we have any public. Yeah, we have cards on 4 and no cards on 6. So we'll, item number 6, we will approve on consent with no objections. So ordered. Item number 7, we will continue and extend the time limit on that. Does that need to be said for the record? Yes, sir. Extending the time limit, item number 7?
Right. Yes.
Or procedurally, anything else we need to do on that?
So the recommendation, Councilman, on this item is to include in the committee report that you approve the extension of 15 days.
Okay. And I suppose we'll do the same for 8 and 9. We
Yes,
wanted
sir.
to extend the times on those for 15 days as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll do that. Items 7, 8, and 9, which are all historical cultural monument nominations. One is on the Altman Apartments, Albert von Lewitt Complex, and the Red Wine Building. All those will be given an extended time for 15 days, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. Any objections to that? Seeing none, so ordered. Okay. Item number 4, we have a public comment card. Oh. Okay. They waived their time to speak. Is that correct? Carl Steinberg. Okay. They waive their time to speak. We will go and approve that item on consent. And that is a zone change for 919141 West Satakoy. No objection, so ordered. Thank you. Item number 1.
Item 1, Councilman, is a motion by Mr. Koretz and yourself. It's instructing city planning with the assistance of the city attorney and stakeholder groups to prepare an ordinance to create a wildlife corridor in the east portion of the Santa Monica Mountains.
Okay. And I think what we're doing with this item is referring this to staff for the actual report, correct? Yes.
Since it's technically a land use legislative action, probably easier to simply adopt the motion, Councilman.
Okay, we would hope to adopt the motion. We do have a number of public cards. Now, the reason I raise that is because we have quite a bit of support cards, and then 2 that don't say support or not, but one is, I'm venture to guess, it's another support card. So I would say we are going to move this forward, but we would, I assume, we usually do on these types of items. But I do want to say if there's something you want to enhance what could be in the report back or something to bring up, that would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, if you're here just to say you're supporting it, the briefer, the better, okay? So because we have quite a bit of cards on this item, and we do want to preserve or have a more robust conversation when the actual report comes back. So I'll start off. Each public speaker has 1 minute. Robin Greenberg, Skip Haynes, and Liliana Sanchez. Or Liliana Sanchez.
My name is Robin Greenberg. I'm the president of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council, and I would like to have you prepare and present an ordinance to create a wildlife corridor in the eastern edge of the Santa Monica Mountains. We who live along the mountains from the 405 to Laurel Canyon have chosen to live there because of the wildlife. It is so pleasing to look outside and to see the deer, and I can't explain to you how it makes my heart feel so much better than being in the city. We support the Councilman Koretz's motion, and we hope that you will also do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Skip Haynes. I represent the Kirkwood Bowl Foundation. It's 1,000 households in the Kirkwood Bowl in Laurel Canyon, and I was a founding member of CLAW. So I just want you to know that our entire canyon supports this motion because we pay a lot of money and go through a lot of work to live where we live, and we deal with all the problems, and the reason we do it is because of wildlife. And I think this is immensely important that you guys pass this and that it's happening. So we're supporting CLAW and the motion.
Thank you. You were Skip Haynes, correct? Correct. Okay. Liliana Sanchez, Wilda Rocos, and Samantha Sullivan.
So I'm Liliana Sanchez. I'm from Singleton, and I am on the Land Use Committee. And we took a vote to support this motion. And I'd like to commend Councilmember Paul Koretz for representing his constituents and our wildlife and the need for these corridors. And I'd also like to take this moment to ask all the remaining council members to take the same move and hopefully extend it over to our Council District 7, Council Member Felipe Fuentes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Wilda Rocos of Valley Village. I'm a natural history filmmaker working with...
I'm sorry, can you hold her tight? Can you speak into the microphone? Just raise the microphone. Yes, thank you.
I'm a natural history filmmaker and a homeowner in Valley Village. I know from personal experience how important it is to have a good connection of land for the animals to move back and forth. I think you probably all saw the footage on television about the mountain lion that was trapped. We see that all too often, so I hereby give my support for your support. And I'm new at this, so I don't know what I'm supposed to say or not. But I am certainly in favor of any approval that you have to do to get the land connected.
Well, you did great. Thank you. Congratulations. Ronald Reagan once said that all public policy making is theater, so that bow at the end was very appropriate.
Hello, my name is Samantha Sullivan. I'm a wildlife conservation biologist and advisor to CLAW, and I support the Wildlife Corridor. Wildlife corridors support biodiversity. Biodiversity is the richness and diversity of life. It boosts the ecosystem productivity, where every species has an important role to play. This great species diversity ensures our natural sustainability for all forms of life. The wildlife corridor will allow passage for large carnivores such as the mountain lion, coyotes, and bobcats. Large carnivores are essential for a healthy ecosystem. If we lose our large carnivores, it means an increase of our herbivores, which will then cause environmental damage and deterioration. In Singapore in 2013, they opened a wildlife corridor to support the critically endangered pangolin. As a result, the populations of this critically endangered species has greatly increased. These wildlife corridors are an essential way to bridge our broken habitats and encourage biodiversity. Thank you.
Thank you. Melora Haste, I think I got that correctly. Jerry Hans and Marian Dodge. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Jerry Hans. I'm president of Friends of Griffith Park. Over the years, Friends of Griffith Park has funded extensive flora and fauna studies and surveys in the Griffith Park area. One of these surveys, the Griffith Park Connectivity Study, first detected P22 by remote camera above the Ford Theater. Griffith Park is not an island, but it is headed that direction without serious planning measures. The valve is tightening for the flow of wildlife nearly everywhere throughout the Santa Monica Mountains. And what that does is it tightens the free flow of genetics as well, leading to restrictive gene pools for various species. Mountain lions make the news with their incest, but many species are affected by habitat fragmentation. Among those, bobcats, the western gray squirrel, LA's only indigenous and gorgeous tree squirrel, the western gray fox, which is also very unusual. It's an arboreal fox species, the only one in the world. We have all of those in Griffith Park. Let's keep LA's bragging rights of being the most biodiverse place on Earth. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Hart. I'm a homeowner in the Hills. And I've watched over the years, I've been there for 16 years, how the deer population has dwindled. And last year, only one fawn was born, whereas in the past, there have been at least 6 new fawns each spring. And it's because they don't have enough open space to get their food. We need open space as well as the corridors for them to rest, to live, to get their food. Because even though you're going to allow, hopefully, corridors on people's property, we have to cut back the trees and all their food sources when you allow people to build. So they need the open spaces as well. So please consider that in the motion. It's imperative because we're just losing our wildlife every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Marian Dodge, Anita Sakotsky, Catherine Warner, and Nina Royal.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Marian Dodge, president of the Federation of Hillside and Canyon Associations, representing 45 homeowners associations spanning the Santa Monica Mountains. We strongly support this motion. It's long overdue to establish wildlife corridors. And we would like to suggest that the planning department create a category on ZEMIS that says wildlife corridor easement, or however you're going to name that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Anita Sokolsky. I'm a property owner with approximately 1 acre at the Laurel Mulholland area. And I'm coming to you from both a owner builder perspective and also as a resident. As a resident, everybody's already mentioned the many reasons why there should be a wildlife corridor. So as Councilmember Weezer said, if you don't have anything new to add, just join the support. But as an owner-developer, a wildlife corridor is also a practical issue. There are too many fights already about how much space should be given for the corridor, arguments between MRCA and owner-developers. This would create a uniform system where an owner-developer would know exactly what was necessary and prevent, perhaps these litigious disputes that occur over time and drag the city in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Catherine Werner. I'm a homeowner in Pacific Palisades and also representing the Miramar Homeowners Association, and we are in full support of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Nina Royale, Barbara Broidy, Wayne from Encino.
Good afternoon. I'm Nina Royal, and I'm a member of the Land Use Committee of the Singleton Neighborhood Council, and we did vote to support this. We are also big fans of the Rim of the Valley. So this should tie into the Rim of the Valley, and hopefully you need to put some teeth in an ordinance, because without the teeth, developers ignore it. We have an example that's going on right this moment in our own community where they're encroaching on the wildlife corridor that was supposed to be set aside. So unless we have enforcement, you can have all the ordinances you want, and it's not going to do any good. So please put some teeth in this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Brody, Westwood South of Santa Monica Boulevard Homeowners Association. We're here to support our neighbors in the hillsides and the animals that live in those hillsides in support of the proposal for the hillside easement legislation. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Wayne from Encino, Nikki Biner, and Caro Torosian from Council Districts 2.
Good afternoon. I'm Nikki Miner, Vice President of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council and board member of the Benedict County Association. I want to implore you to do everything possible to properly corridor these animals. We are the custodians of the animals. They do not speak for themselves. They were here before us. And if they get rid of us, if we get rid of them, they'll get rid of us. There are more and more rats in the hillsides as the corridors are interrupted. And whatever monies the city will get from the taxes from all this overbuilding that destroy the corridors will be used to get rid of the population as the hills and Los Angeles become more like New York City. So please do the proper thing and approve and implement these wildlife corridors as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Caro Torosian from Council District 2, and I have a card from Julie Duncan from Council District 4 and Facial Algeri from Council Member Corrett, CD5. Both of you asked to speak last, so why don't you guys go to the side, have an arm wrestle, and then come back up and let me know who goes last. Thank you.
Honorable Council Members and Chair, Caro Torosian, Director of Planning and the Environment for Council Member Paul Krikorian. In front of you, you have a request for a friendly amendment from Councilmember Krikorian to expand the report back on this item, instructing the Planning Department to report back on the feasibility of identifying the areas within the City of Los Angeles which are within 500 feet of the entire National Park Service Rim of the Valley Corridor Specific Resource Study Area, published February 2016, as a potential regional wildlife habitat zone. Provide a system informing all applicants of building permits and planning approvals that they are within the zone and should make feasible accommodations for wildlife linkages, requiring the accommodation of wildlife linkage areas during the approval process of any subdivision of land or lot line adjustment within the zone, and the feasibility of the Planning Department to incorporate these maps and the critical wildlife linkage areas at the time of community plan updates for these areas.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, council members. Julia Duncan, council member David Rue's office. The council member is very supportive of this motion. It would increase connectivity, protection, and preservation of the biodiversity that currently exists in the eastern Santa Monica mountain range. And we're very happy to support council member Koretz in moving this motion forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Faisal, welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. Faisal Asseri here on behalf of council member Koretz, just urging your support for this very important motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Council District 2 requested some amendments. Mr. Harris Dawson would move to include these in their report, please. I'll second that. No objections. Okay, on this item, any questions or comments or staff? I'm sorry, we have one more public speaker. We misplaced the card. Allison Simard, welcome.
Thank you so much. I would just like to thank you all for hearing this, and everybody who is here. I'm Allison Simard from Citizens for Los Angeles Wildlife. We're putting into the file a very big stack of letters of support, as well as a sign-in letter that you have in front of you from 11 separate environmental organizations. Also, if you'd like to in the room, if you're here to support this, we didn't all speak, if you could just stand up and raise your hand. Thank you very much. And we just want to say that our city can no longer have it both ways. We're adding sustainability experts in every department of our city. We're fighting against carbon impacts and climate change. We're celebrating P22, our mountain lion, and at the same time incrementally giving away the open space that are the lungs of our city that fight air pollution. We disseminate old growth trees that hold water and make shelter for wildlife. We block the habitat passageways that force P22 and our coyotes down into the flats that threaten public safety. We'd like to thank you all, the planning deputies, that have been helping us to arrive at this wildlife habitat linkage zone, and thank you for the scores of environmental organizations and HOAs who understand this. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't mean to cut you off, just trying to be fair that everybody has equal time. Thank you very much. So, council members, I'd like to ask that we approve this item and ask staff to explore this idea and provide us some policy guidance on the proposal by Mr. Koretz. And as we are aware, as the Los Angeles urban environment continues to grow, we must learn to coexist with animals, and certainly I've seen that in my district, in Council District 14, those areas that we preserved as open space in our hillsides with our northeast side Hillside Ordinance and other items like that. We've seen some natural habitat come back and some animals come back that we thought were gone. And so this is a natural next step in many areas of our city, and we look forward to getting this report back. Any other questions or comments on this? Do we have a timeline on this? Do we need one?
No, but you are free to include one.
Planning, staff, are you here? Mr. Bertoni, do you want to answer this, or staff? Okay.
Ken Bernstein's here from Citywide Planning.
More or less. I know you guys are extremely busy, but when can we see this back sometime so we could have a general idea with the people who are here who are interested?
Well, if you could give us 90 days, I think we need to take a look at our approach. We have an opportunity, again, Ken Bernstein, Principal City Planner, we have an opportunity to look at both the proposal for an ordinance as well as our launch of the new general plan update, which will give us an opportunity to put in place policies in our open space element or open space chapter of the general plan to speak to the goals of the motion. So we want to take a look at the goals of the motion, the amendment that was introduced today, and propose an approach to move forward.
More or less 90 days.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. So with that, we'll move this item forward as amended by Mr. Harris Dawson on the request of Council District 2, and so ordered. Thank you very much. Next item. And for those of you who are leaving, if you could keep conversations outside or go out quietly, we're trying to move along. Usually it takes a while to catch up. Thank you.
Do you want to go sequentially to the sign ordinance?
Number two. Number
okay,
two.
So item 2, Councilman, is a city attorney.
I'm sorry. Number three.
Sure. Item 3, Councilman, is a city attorney prepare ordinance to establish citywide water efficiency standards and also to technologies for buildings in the city.
Good afternoon, council members.
Good afternoon.
Deputy City Attorney Monica Castillo.
We present for you today for your consideration a draft ordinance that amends the Los Angeles Plumbing Code and Green Building Code that would introduce new water-saving technologies, and that would introduce these technologies both for residential and non-residential and reduce the usage of water in landscapes. We have for you today from the department a few additional technical amendments that we would like for you to consider as well. I have here Osama Yunin from the department to address that matter.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and council members. The department would like to respectfully request that we make some minor amendments. There is a conflict between the documents that the state agencies have published in regards to landscape irrigation. The amendment we're proposing would capture the correct state requirements. Also, some information was inadvertently left out from our September report to Plum, which was approved, and we're putting back those information that were left out. Finally, a reference was made to hybrid urinals to be consistent with the recently published state codes. Again, we would like to respectfully request that you approve this draft ordinance along with our proposed amendments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have all the paperwork in front of us, right? Okay, we're fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll go to public comment. Daniel Gleiberman, Tracy Quinn, and John Howland.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. I work for Sloan Valve Company. We're a manufacturer of commercial plumbing products, and we support the ordinance. We're very proud to be based with myself in Los Angeles, and we look forward to helping the city save water with this adoption. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Tracy Quinn. I'm a senior policy analyst with the Natural Resources Defense Council. I want to thank you for the opportunity to comment on the water efficiency ordinance today. I'd like to start by commending Osama Yunin for fostering a collaborative environment during the stakeholder process. I really appreciate the time and effort that he spent making sure that we all felt heard. While we, the environmental groups, didn't get everything we wanted in this ordinance, I think it's fair to say that this is an important step for the City of Los Angeles in meeting the goal of Mayor Garcetti's executive directive and achieving local self-reliance. Once again, Los Angeles is setting a precedent for the state, and we look forward to elements of this ordinance being adopted at the state level in the future. We'd still like to see some improvements being made, particularly with respect to groundwater discharge, which still allows clean groundwater to be discharged to the sewer in contradiction to the mayor's executive directive, and with respect to graywater-ready building language, which we think could use some additional guidance. But we think these can be addressed during the next regular code cycle. With that, I'd like to ask the committee to approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Howland, as you come up, I apologize. I found a card from you as well for item number 2, but we didn't call it up. We apologize for that. If you like, we pass that item.
I'll be really quick on number 3, and if I can do number 2, that would be terrific also.
Okay. Go ahead.
John Howland with Central City Association. Thank you. I'll try and be as brief as possible, unlike me as that is. We support the water efficiency ordinance as amended. The ordinance affects new construction in buildings that undergo major renovations, and we thank the city and staff for the opportunity to comment on the ordinance while it was being crafted. Like it or not, the city and the state are being forced to deal with the new normal. More sporadic rainfall. And this ordinance is a reasonable step. It doesn't. If the city doesn't act, the state is working to create even more onerous standards. We encourage city staff to continue working with the business community as it continues to craft new standards in this area. Pause. Go back to number 2 with the sign ordinance.
We haven't done the sign ordinance.
We're not there yet. Yeah.
Oh, I thought
number 1.
Okay.
Yeah, we did number 1 already. I'm sorry. Sorry for the confusion. That was number 2. So we'll put you in the appropriate box there then. Cambria McLeod, Jerry Desmond Jr., and Melanie Winter.
Good afternoon. My name is Cambria McLeod, and I represent the Kohler Company. As a leading manufacturer of plumbing fixtures and fittings, we would like to extend our appreciation to Mr. Osama Yunin for taking into consideration our comments, our concerns, and our recommendations throughout the process of developing this ordinance. Thank you, Mr. Unen. We thank him very much, and we look forward to working with him and the city as we progress forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair and members, Jerry Desmond on behalf of Plumbing Manufacturers International, PMI. Approximately 30 members manufacture approximately 90% of the toilets, faucets, urinals, and shower heads that will be subject to this ordinance. We also wanted to applaud and express our appreciation for Osama Unen and the ability to engage in a productive stakeholder process to work through a number of issues, especially as we try to parallel and coordinate with the appliance efficiency regulations adopted at the state level by the Housing Department and the Energy Commission. And we believe as you move forward that this will be an ordinance that we will be able to work with you on to implement in order to accomplish the efficiencies that you're trying to obtain. And we know there'll be a number of issues that will come up, but we're pleased to be part of the process as you move forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members. My name is Melanie Winter. I'm the founder and director of the nonprofit The River Project. I also would like to commend Mr. Unen and the way that he leads a process like this. You know, in this ordinance alone, there are fixtures and there are regulations that cross a number of different kinds of approaches, from soil moisture to hardware. There's a lot of stakeholders, and the way in which he works really should be applauded and should be considered a model for some of the more challenging things we are trying to retrofit in our policies and ordinances moving forward. These are very challenging things, and the way in which he handles it as a staff member is exemplary. And I just want you all to consider that as a model and a shining star in Los Angeles. So we are also very grateful for the end result we have. We also didn't get everything we want, and I think that most of what's left over can be scooped up moving forward. Those things can be benefited by a continuing process like this, where stakeholders come together in dialogue and respectful conversation. So I think this is going to do a lot towards moving us towards the city's goals, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments on this item? No. Well, as all of you know or have noticed, El Niño did not solve our drought, even though we did get some much-needed snow in the Sierra Mountains that will help supply us water in the coming months. But unfortunately, the crisis of climate change is only going to make our weather more volatile and our water supplies even less reliable. This is a reminder that we must treat water like the precious commodity that it is. In LA, 90% of our water is imported, so we must conserve more and get the most use out of the water that we have. The item in front of us will encourage the use of gray water and recycled water and make our homes and buildings more water efficient. It is the final ordinance of what the council unanimously approved in December and sent it to the city attorney's office. Today's action also addresses dewatering in response to a motion that Mr. Koretz and I put forth last year with Mr. Blumenfield. It encourages reuse of groundwater that has to be removed for our underground construction and to protect the foundations of buildings. Right now, standard practice is to just discharge this water to the storm drain and to the ocean. Instead, this water should be reused on site. If that's not practical, then the water can be sent to the sewer, which allows for the reuse of that water, or our recycled water program continues to expand. Last year, we found that the DWP was discharging perfectly good water into the storm drains during routine maintenance. The DWP fixed the situation with a similar plan to put it back into their system for reuse or put it into the sewer for a recycled water program. Dewatering for construction must also follow a more environmentally sensitive procedure. So I ask for your aye vote for us and move this to full council. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move this item to full council without objection.
So we'll adopt the revised version, right?
The revised version with the amendments. Okay. So ordered. Next item, item number...
I believe it's five. It's a report from the Cultural Heritage Commission relative to the inclusion of the Singleton estate as a historic cultural monument.
Welcome.
Good afternoon again. Ken Bernstein, representing the Department's Office of Historic Resources. The Cultural Heritage Commission unanimously voted on January 7th to approve historic cultural monument status for the Singleton estate, finding that it met 3 of the ordinance criteria. First, that the estate is associated with a significant historic person as the longtime residence of Dr. Henry Singleton, who was the former CEO of Teledyne Incorporated, one of the country's largest conglomerates. Second, that it embodies the distinguishing characteristics of an architectural style as an excellent example of new traditional architecture with French Revival influences. And third, that the estate is a notable work of a master architect and master designer as one of the final large-scale projects of architect Wallace Neff, and the grounds were designed by noted landscape architects Thomas Church and Philip Shipley. So again, the Cultural Heritage Commission recommendation was unanimous that this does meet 3 criteria of the Cultural Heritage Ordinance. I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. And now, stand by. Deborah Seidoff, Scott Gray, Victor De La Cruz.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, council members. I'm a homeowner in the area, and I just want to thank you for your support, or wish for your support in this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Scott Gray. I am asking for the full committee to support the recommendations of the Heritage Commission and designate this as a monument. Thank you.
Thank you. Victor De La Cruz, C.J. Laffer, Linda Dishman.
Good afternoon, council members. Victor De La Cruz, Manette Phelps on behalf of Brian Lord. I'm here to support the Conservancy's nomination of the Singleton Estate as a historic cultural monument. This property is widely recognized as one of Wallace Neff's great masterpieces, and the landscape architecture by Church and Shipley is second to none. So I'm not going to go into detail on something we all agree on. I do, however, want to express concern about the removal of multiple mature trees from the property while this monument designation, which includes the landscaping, was waiting to get from the Cultural Heritage Commission to you. The city's Cultural Heritage Ordinance prohibits the major alteration of properties while a designation is pending, so the removal of so many trees to strategically pave the way for a future project is really unfortunate. We ask that you please be crystal clear if and when you designate the property that any future removal of mature trees will require review by the Cultural Heritage Commission so that this doesn't happen again. Like any designation, it will not foreclose future alterations. It will just require that changes are consistent with the Secretary of the Interior standards for historic properties and are properly mitigated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. C.J. Laffer, Manette Phelps, and Phillips on behalf of Brian Lord. We enthusiastically support the proposed designation of the entire Singleton estate. This is consistent with the nomination submitted by the Conservancy, which clearly indicates that natural vegetation on the site's perimeter, including the hillside and canyon, is a key element of the estate setting in the Shipley Church design for the site as a whole. Less than 2 weeks ago, the property owner's own landscape architect emphasized the importance of the site's hillside and canyon landscape during a presentation to the Cultural Heritage Commission, expressing his appreciation of the significance of the design of, quote, the natural, wild-like landscape on the sloping hillside and canyon. However, despite repeated assurances to the Cultural Heritage Commission by Mr. Labey and his design team that his redevelopment plans for the site are sensitive to and consistent with the historic character of the site, Mr. Labey is planning a project that could significantly alter the historic hillside. We respectfully request designation of the entire Singleton estate as a monument, including the dense natural landscape along the site's hillside and canyon perimeter. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Dishman, Nikki Miner, Lauren King.
Good afternoon. My name is Linda Dishman. I'm the president and CEO of the Los Angeles Conservancy. As an organization, we don't do many nominations. We maybe do less than 5 nominations a year, and the fact that we instigated this nomination, I think, speaks to the significance of this property.
Sorry, can you hold your time, please? Hold our time. Can everyone please, if you could keep it down a bit, if you really need to speak for a long period of time, please take your conversations outside or the noise police will come get you. Thank you very much.
Do you need me to start again?
If you could put 5 more seconds on the clock, please, and go ahead. Sorry
Linda
to cut you off
Dishman,
like
LA
that.
Conservancy. We are here to speak in support of the nomination today. We don't do very many nominations as an organization, and we wanted to do this one because we think that estates like the Singleton property really speak to the history of Los Angeles with the aerospace industry and defense, that speak to the architecture of what makes Los Angeles so significant. So we hope that you will support the nomination today. We have been meeting with the property owner throughout this process. I think that we're making some really solid progress on finding a win-win solution, and I think that with the designation going forward, we will continue to see a project that everybody can be very proud of. Thank you.
Nikki Miner, Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council. Please support the preservation of this very important historic, cultural architecture and landscaping. Wallace Neff was one of the most important architects to have shaped the look of Los Angeles, and too few of the history of Los Angeles is left intact. I mean, someday some people will come to Los Angeles and say, where's the beauty? What is this? What's Los Angeles supposed to be? Because nowadays, there are no more empty lots. People look at historic buildings, any buildings, not as something to buy, restore, and love and move into, but as a piece of land. Knock it down and build something else. This can't continue. This piece of property in Delphorn must be respected, preserved in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren King, Adrian Labbe, and William Delvec. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm Lauren King. I'm a neighbor on North Fairing, and I'm also a preservationist. And I was a friend also of Carolyn Singleton's. Been to the house many times, and it's an excellent example of this architect. And I think it's really important that we save the property.
Thank you. Adrian Labbe, William Delvec, and last comment card from Council District 5, Faisal Al-Sari.
I would just like to address the untruths that are being told about the landscape and the property. I have pictures to show this, that everybody has seen the landscape, including Councilman Corretz, Councilman Faisal, and Linda Dishman, and everybody else at the property. And the reality of the landscape is far from different from what was described by one of the neighbor's lawyers just a few minutes ago. And I have pictures to prove it in case anybody wants to see them.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr.
Honorable
Delvec?
Council members, William Delvec of Armbruster, Goldsmith, and Delvec, on behalf of Adrian Labbe, who just spoke. He's the property owner. Yesterday, I submitted for the record extensive documentation, most of which has been before the Cultural Heritage Commission previously. It's interesting to note in this case that the Commission originally turned down the application. We believe they were correct the first time. We've submitted various documents, including a peer review showing how the nomination was incorrect and had inaccuracies. Also, I've submitted for the record today a letter that a consultant for Mr. Labbe had prepared, Dr. Margarita Jerbeck, that was sent to the clerk but apparently not included on the website. We respectfully urge this committee to deny the designation for all the reasons stated in the submissions. Thank you.
Thank you. Council members, any questions or comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Council District 5, Faisal Al-Sari.
Hi there, good afternoon. Faisal Al-Sari on behalf of Councilmember Koretz, here to urge you to support the Planning Department's work on this, as well as the Commission's designation of this property. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Okay. One question to our staff. On the item of during the nomination process, one of the public commenters mentioned that there are some rules with respect to not altering the property when that nomination is occurring. Here, someone mentioned that there were some trees chopped down. Is that accurate? And if it is, what are the rules with respect to that?
Thank you again, Ken Bernstein, Office of Historic Resources staff. Yes, during the time that a nomination is under consideration, no permit for demolition or substantial alteration may be issued, and no substantial alteration of the property may be made. We were informed that there were some trees, there was some landscape work, trees removed, landscape work done during this time. We did not believe that that rose to the level of being a substantial alteration that significantly affected the eligibility of this property. We believe that the property in its entirety, as well as the design landscape by Church and Shipley, retains sufficient integrity for designation, and that does not materially affect the overall significance of the property.
Okay, and as proposed at Plum, it's similar to what the commission adopted to nominate the property in its entirety, correct?
Correct.
The structure along with the property.
Right, and again, and some of the findings are related to the significance of the design landscape related to Church and Shipley.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Englander? No question? No?
I was going to ask the same thing, so I'm glad you asked that. And then you'd mentioned, I think, earlier as well, that there was a different landscape architect, or is it the same one that on the whole property? Somebody mentioned it. That was a different.
There were both Thomas Church and Philip Shipley were associated with the design of the landscape for the estate.
Okay, so it was both the main property or the home as well as the entire estate and the landscaping as well?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted that clarification. Okay. I think somebody else had mentioned.
Okay, great. Any questions or comments from council members? No? See none. We'll approve this item and move it forward as nominated and send it to full council. Any objections to that? Seeing no objections, so ordered. Thank you very much. Next item.
Item 10, Councilman, is an appeal by the Miramar Homeowners Association. This is a haul route appeal to export 1,537 cubic yards of earth at the property 815 North Paseo Miramar in CD 11.
Okay, thank you. Staff, welcome.
Good afternoon. Cora Johnson, Board Secretary for the Building and Safety Commission. The board had a hearing on March 22nd. They did approve the haul route and they accepted the mitigated negative declaration that was previously approved by the Department of City Planning.
Some of the appeals that are being raised, did you have a chance to review those? And
well, during the hearing, we added 2 conditions to the haul route. One was to cover the trucks during the haul route, and another condition was to add flagmen, additional flagmen.
Okay. We'll review this. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Stephen Summers, Patrick Perry, and Debbie Diner Harris for Council District 11. You are the representative of the owner, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey there, my name is Stephen Summers, applicant's representative. Wanted to just give a brief overview of the project. This project that's before the city today is a new single-family dwelling which proposes the hauling of roughly 1,500 cubic yards of earth as export from the site. When you exceed 1,000 cubic yards of export, you're required to get a haul route. The haul route, which was approved by the Building and Safety Board of Commissioners, is what is being appealed and is here today. The opposition group has raised a number of concerns on multiple items, and from our perspective, we are fully in support of any measures that can be added to improve the safety of this project. As Cora Johnson mentioned, during the haul route hearing, additional safety measures were brought up, and we absolutely supported the addition of those safety measures. Our goal is to construct this single-family dwelling in the safest way possible. And there are a number of items that I think the appellant will end up bringing up, which, when they're relating to safety, we support them. One of the things is an additional flagman, and that is something that we support. Now, Patrick Perry, who's our legal counsel, will provide some further information regarding the CEQA analysis that was done on the project. Ultimately, there was a project for the properties below the subject site that we had applications in to do a street vacation and construction on previously. During the haul route process, there were concerns about those applications brought up. And so what we did to avoid any issues with it is we proactively withdrew those applications entirely. There is no application in the city of Los Angeles relating to any lots other than 815 Paseo Miramar. So the discussion at hand today is solely regarding the site at 815 Paseo Miramar and the single-family dwelling which our client would like to build for himself to live in. 1,500 cubic yards on the scope of things when it comes to haul routes is very small. This isn't an egregious project, and we hope that your committee will support the project and allow us to move forward so that we can proceed with our responsible development.
Thank you. Patrick Perry.
Good afternoon. I'm Patrick Perry with Alan Matkins, also the applicant's representative, HMBAP LLC, the property owner. I wanted to address, as Mr. Summers said, a couple of issues relating to CEQA analysis that have been brought up in the appeal. There were essentially two. The first is that the mitigated negative declaration that was done for this project considered a different haul route than the one that was ultimately approved. That's not correct. The MND did not consider a different haul route. There was only one haul route considered throughout the entire project, and that's the one that went before the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners, goes up Resolano Drive. There really is no other way to access the site. The portion of Paseo Miramar, actually the property sits between two portions of Paseo Miramar, which curves up and around the site. The portion that is to the south of the site, it doesn't exist. It was wiped out by a landslide something like 60 years ago, and therefore is impassable. So it was not even potentially able to be considered as part of the haul route. So it was the route that went up Resolano, as was approved by the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners. The Board of Building and Safety Commissioners, in the exercise of their independent judgment, determined that the mitigation measures that were adopted for that haul route did adequately consider, or at least apply to, the haul route that they ultimately approved. Second CEQA issue had to do with permit streamlining, which Mr. Summers alluded to. There's only one permit that is applicable.
One second, I'm sorry. Can the clerk put on 2 minutes? I've been keeping track, and just as an explanation, the applicants and appellants in these types of cases receive 5 minutes each, and the regular public comment is 1 minute. You're also the representative, correct? And so
Yes.
The previous speaker had 2 minutes remaining, plus your one, so you have about 2 minutes left on your comment. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll be brief. Again, there was only one application that's currently pending for this property, and that's the haul route application. There had been an application that was submitted previously for vacation of the portion of Paseo Miramar that's currently impassable. Again, at the encouragement of the Planning Department and the Department of Building and Safety, that application was withdrawn, such that there is nothing else pending before the city at this time except for the one permit, so therefore there's nothing that can be considered to be piecemealing under CEQA with respect to this project. And if you have any questions, we're available to address those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And I just found the remaining cards on this item. They are, we have Catherine Warner as the appellant representative. And the representative is here yourself. So same thing. You have a 5-minute window, and individually you have 1 minute, so you could figure out how you allot your time there. Thank you. So Catherine Warner, Andrea Pompelli, and Michael Jimenez. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Catherine Werner. I'm here on behalf of the Miramar Homeowners Association, and we're not here today to stop our neighbor, the applicant, from developing a single-family home at 815 North Paseo Miramar, but are rather concerned about the movement of 1,537 cubic yards of dirt across the Resolano easement and the Resolano Drive, and the elephant in the room that the development of this single-family home is part of a larger project that the applicant has withdrawn to avoid having to perform a comprehensive environmental review under CEQA. And please take note of that, because I have a feeling that when they reapply, I will be before you again in a few months. Michael Jimenez will address more of the CEQA issues. I'm just going to talk about the comments in regarding to the approval. So, comment regarding A4. We are asking you to please conduct an inspection of the proposed haul route prior to the commencement of the hauling activities, in addition to the post-hauling inspection as required by Los Angeles Municipal Code. Comment to B17. Remove general condition B17, as there's only one dump truck allowed on Paseo Miramar and Resolano Drive at a time, so why even mention a convoy effect? Comments in regards to condition C1. The hauling operation should be additionally restricted to prohibit hauling operations on Tuesdays from 7 to 12 noon, which is the city sanitation pickup day in Paseo Miramar community, including Paseo Miramar and Resolano Drive and easement. Condition C4, the Bureau of the Street Services needs to provide the public with the assurance that the Risolano easement roadbed can handle 175 to 200 dump trucks, each weighing 85,000 pounds, since the Risolano easement was not designed as a permanent public street due to the fact that it does not meet city standards for streets, due to that the slope is over in places over 23% and a narrow width less than 15 feet wide and has blind curves. C7, due to the narrow width of Risolano easement, the flag attendants required by this condition should be authorized to hold traffic at the northern intersection of the Paseo Miramar and the Risolano easement and at the southern intersection of Paseo Miramar and Risolano Drive. C9, we do not believe that the current proposed staff report addresses what happens if a loaded dump truck gets stuck and stalls on the very steep, more than 18% Risolano easement. How residents will be able to pass this truck, since many places the easement has a maximum width of 15 feet. Also, how will emergency vehicles get past any stalled or stuck loaded dump truck? And lastly, C11, dump trucks should be restricted from leaving the staging area provided for C3 until a dump truck leaves the construction site to ensure the residents that only one hauling truck shall be allowed on Paseo Miramar and Risolano Drive. In addition, an additional flag attendant should be stationed at the intersection of Paseo Miramar and Sunset to ensure that the dump trucks start up the hill while another dump truck is still at the construction site or on the road back down the hill. And therefore, we ask you to please not approve the haul route until all our concerns are addressed. Thank you.
My name is Andrea, and I'm just here to affirm everything Catherine has said. I'm one of the longest residents on Paseo Miramar, and I think it's important for the city to understand that our street was built in 1925, and it's impossible to widen, and it was never built for the scale of the logistics of this potential development, even of the 815 house. And we have a substandard street with continuous narrow turns, and there are not even room enough for 2 emergency vehicles to pass at this time. And there are steep, narrow turns. And on behalf of the neighborhood, of everyone I know, there is not one person who is not seriously concerned about safety issues of the scale of this development on our street. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Michael Jimenez, representing the Miramar Homeowners Association. I just wanted to bring your attention to a couple of CEQA issues that we believe are outstanding on this haul route. The first is that the original proposal that came out of planning with the MND did not recognize the streets that were actually going to be used. Those streets should have been studied, and mitigation should have been incorporated to address the issues that the homeowners mentioned to you about steepness, narrow width, and blind curves. We believe that the document should go back to planning and be revised to address the Risolano Drive and Risolano easement, and also to develop appropriate mitigation for that. Secondarily, as they've also mentioned, there was a former application that provided for additional development, and we would recommend that this be held back until that issue is addressed. There was some grading that was done on the site. We've sent in some pictures about that, and so we'd ask that before you approve this, you address that grading that was done for the purpose of the other lots and not this development that is before you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Debbie Diner-Harris from Council District 11.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Debbie Diner-Harris. I'm with Council Member Mike Bonin's office. Thank you very much for hearing this issue today. We are strongly supportive of the neighbor safety concerns in this neighborhood. Paseo Miramar and the Risolano easement are quite narrow, quite windy, quite hilly, as you've heard. And so any opportunities to increase safety for this haul route is something the council member supports. We urge you to support this as well and add some of these additional conditions that you've heard today that we have agreed to as well, that we are supportive of, and that is including bunching some of the trucks during the haul route, perhaps 3 at a time on the property, no more than 3 on the site, and if there is a possibility to ensure that only one goes down at a time, that would be the goal. The other is to provide a closer haul route location. Right now, as you probably heard, the haul route staging location is on Woodley in the valley, which is not particularly close to Pacific Palisades. So finding a closer staging location would speed up the process. In addition, we also support the no hauling on Tuesday mornings to ensure that nothing interferes with the trash pickup and people's ability to get in and out of that community. Finally, we'd also like to see the applicant work closely with the neighbors on some of these other issues that have come up that we believe can be worked out through compromise and cooperation. And we hope that you will support their efforts and our efforts to keep that area safe. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Sure, thank you. Those suggested changes, did you submit those in writing to, or did somebody get them? Do we have them?
And we're, oh.
No, we don't. Okay. Can you resend them? So if you could repeat those, your suggested changes, just so we could be clear on what they are. Can you repeat them just to make sure we know what suggested changes you're making?
So that there be 3 trucks staged at once on the property if possible, and that only one goes up and down the street at a time. That there will be a closer haul route staging location, not in the San Fernando Valley.
Okay.
And that there be no hauling on Tuesday mornings so as not to interfere with trash pickup. And then also we would recommend that they meet with the neighbors to try to find some additional safety opportunities. One of the things that neighbors did mention was a flag person at sunset. That's something that we would be comfortable with as well.
Great, thank you. Can I meet with staff here? Staff, can they come back up, please? Planning staff, building and safety staff. Are you here? Yeah, there you are. Didn't see you back there.
Yes.
You heard the suggested changes by Council District 11. Are they reasonable? Can they work? Are they logistically?
Yes, they're quite reasonable. And I just wanted to add that the Rosalano Street, DOT and Street Services did revise their reports. They did study those streets as well. The original route did not include those streets, so we sent them back to DOT and Street Services, and they approved the route with Rosalano.
Okay, and some issue was raised about some hauling that has occurred before the actual, or there was some grading that was done before. If there was grading, I assume they meant that there was some hauling, so I'm not sure. Are you aware of that at all?
I am not aware.
Not aware of that? We didn't see.
No,
okay.
I'm not.
Good. Thank you. So we will grant in part and deny in part the hauling route, and we will include the conditions as set forth by Council District 11, which is to locate and utilize a staging site closer to the project site, group 3 haul trucks together and stage them on the project site at the same time, and prohibit haul trucks on Tuesday mornings to ensure no conflict between trash trucks and haul trucks. Okay.
And to meet with the neighbors, I think.
And to meet with the neighbors. Is that an appropriate condition? I don't think we could. Can we? I don't know. Is that an appropriate condition in these haul route permits?
No, that's a very vague comment, but I think there was a condition for an extra flag person. So there is one additional condition to have an additional flagman at the property.
Okay.
And a recommendation to meet with the neighbors.
All right, we'll do that, and we'll delete the meet with the neighbors. I'm going to shout out and say I met with them, right? That's qualifying.
Very good.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments from the committee? Seeing none, we'll move this item and approve it. It's ordered. Thank you. As conditioned.
Councilman Huizar, Councilman Cedillo cannot vote because he was not present for the totality of the appeal.
Okay, so we will take that into account. And present but not voting by Mr. Cedillo.
Mr. Fuentes has stepped out.
Okay, so we'll make that Englander, Huizar, and Marquise Harris Dawson.
Yeah, you You have a majority.
Okay, we have quorum.
3.
3.
Yeah. Mr. Fuentes comes back, it'll be 4.
Okay, so ordered. Thank you. You went to Cal Berkeley, so I know you know how to add, sir. It's a great school.
I think you also went there.
The #1 public institution.
That's right, Council.
Thank you very much. College. Next item.
The next item, Councilman, is a city attorney prepare ordinance relative to signs in the city. It's a citywide ordinance.
Thank you. So, item number 2, we have a lot of cards. We have a lot of upcoming discussion, and in fact, it's well due. This is, item 2 is a proposed revisions to the city's sign regulations, and so here we are again. I understand that the city attorney's office has provided a final draft of version B at this point. So I want to thank the city attorney's office for their diligence in completing that. In reviewing what's taken place on this issue in the past, it has become apparent to me that for whatever reason, we've reached impasse after impasse without ever understanding our best options. We have not had the level of analysis and data necessary to come up with a solid framework that embodies our policy objectives. And in fact, I think our committee has given some directive to our respective departments to come up with that analysis and that data that we need to look at all possible options, at least to see what's before us, so then we could decide which way we would like to move forward. I'm disappointed in that, as I'm sure the public and my colleagues are as well. And as a committee, I hope that we could get to a point where we find a way to reduce the number of billboards along every street in every neighborhood, that we ensure that we develop a strong enough enforcement program that's adequately funded and staffed, and that we identify a mechanism that would help generate revenues essential to funding major citywide policy initiatives. Those are the goals, but I do believe that in order for us to get there, no matter how we get there, we need sufficient analysis and data to determine what is the best option for us to get there. And with that, I'd like to thank staff and members of the public for your continuing involvement in this item because of the complexity of the issues particular to the city's sign regulations. The review by staff today was really important in reminding everyone where we've been and where we stand today on this matter. It's a refresher for all of us, really. And with that, I'd have a few questions for staff, as I'm sure some of the committee members are, but I'd like to turn it over to our staff now for that refresher as to where we are right now. So thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Tom Rothman from the Planning Department. As you said, I'm going to give you a brief overview of where we've been in the last year and also a little history on the whole sign ordinance, because I know there are some new players now. So just quickly, the sign ordinance, as you said, has been going on for a while. In 2002, there was a billboard ban throughout the city, and that included all off-site signs, all murals, and super graphics. So we have worked on murals over the years, but we are still working on the sign ordinance. In 2008, this committee directed the planning department to start work on a sign ordinance. We worked on that for a year, and we brought it to the City Planning Commission, and they approved an ordinance back in 2009. Since then, there have been 16 hearings at this committee on the version that the City Planning Commission had approved back then. And then this last year, Plum finally forwarded what we call version A and B, two different versions, and I'll go into details about what they are, and additional proposals that are in either version onto the City Planning Commission. The City Planning Commission heard that later on and made some changes and approved their own version, which we are calling version B+. And I'll go into details about what that is. So there are three versions that people are speaking about, A, B, and B+.
Mr. Chair, on that point, only because I don't want to forget it, help me understand how the Citywide Planning Commission is able to delegate the director's authority and effectively step in the director's shoes there. I'm a little sort of at a loss there because that to me is interesting. This committee advanced the proposals and what came back is different. Where is it in the code that you can do that?
I'm not sure I have the charter section in front of me, but that authority to allow the planning director to approve or disapprove an ordinance is granted to the director by the City Planning Commission. They removed that authority last year so they could take another look at the sign ordinance. So that is something that they had the charter authority to do.
So maybe the city attorney and the director can help me understand. So what happened was that the Citywide Planning Commission then took an active vote to take that authority away from the Citywide Planning Commissioner and then acted as the, not commissioner, I'm sorry.
The director.
As a director?
Correct.
And act with the same authority of the director?
Well, it really was not that clear what they were actually taking the sign ordinance on for, I guess, officially their second time. These were now new commissioners, so they did want to have a look at something that had been going through this process for 6 years. So they created their own ordinance, actually, I would say.
I'm just wondering where the authority comes to do that after this committee acted. I guess that's my broader question.
Adrian Corazani, City Attorney's Office. Ken Fong is with me. He's been tracking this. But Ken, correct me if I'm wrong. As stated by Tom, the charter allows the commission to delegate their authority to the director for purposes of consideration of this ordinance and all related issues. They withdrew that delegation so that they could, in fact, look at it beyond just what had come back from committee. And that is where you get the resulting enhanced versions. Ken,
The charter allows for that.
Yeah, Ken Fong, Deputy City Attorney. Let me add, I think the simplest way to look at this is that under the charter, the City Planning Commission is supposed to review all land use related ordinances. But for most ordinances, after it's been revised by Plum, there's really no necessity for it to go back to CPC. So that's why they've delegated the authority to the Director of Planning to sign off. So, you know, in the vast majority of ordinances, there's not too many changes or maybe no changes, and the Director of Planning can just sign off on behalf of the City Planning Commission. But with respect to this ordinance, there were concerns by the City Planning Commission. We want to look at this. So we are withdrawing the delegation to the Director of Planning. We want it to come back to us. That's what they did, and now they've given their input, and now it's back before you.
Well, and so that, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, to me, the process part is important here. So what's before us then is still this committee's action, version B, not version B plus.
Well, that's my question. That is the rub. Many months ago, this commission, your committee, directed the City Attorney's Office to take what was then called version B and to prepare the version of that for form and legality, which we did, and we transmitted that to the city clerk, and you have that before you. Now, when the sign ordinance went back to CPC a few months ago, the City Planning Commission, they looked at different versions of the ordinance, and they came up, and there were versions A and versions B, both of which they disapproved, but then they took version B, and then they created what they called version B plus, and they basically said this version B plus is something that we, the CPC, can stand behind and recommend and forward to the City Council. So you basically have both of them before you, and it's up to you which one you would prefer to go with. And the procedural difference is that because version B was disapproved by the CPC, that will require a supermajority vote under the charter.
What was that?
And B plus, which was recommended by CPC, will require the ordinary vote.
Well, ironic and clever that they would send something over called B plus. Good marketing on the CPC side of things. But I'm just wondering, from a transmittal process, is this legal? what's before us, because I don't want to create any additional ambiguity. I promise, Mr. Chair, I will stop and wait till the end of the presentation. But I think, to me, this is a very interesting situation. I've not seen it in the 16 years where they send us whole hog something different than what it is that we said.
All of it does follow the charter. Basically, if you look at it, it's like having two separate ordinances. Version B has already been reviewed and transmitted by the city attorney's office. Now, version B plus, that is coming to you from the CPC. Technically, the city attorney's office has not reviewed that for form and legality. However, much of it is the same as B, so if you were to go with B plus and send it to the city attorney's office, we would mainly be looking at the changes that CPC made that are different from version B.
Mr. Harris Dawson.
Thank you. I'm going to, if you don't mind, Mr. Fuentes, take the baton from you. So, one more question. Based on your explanation, it sounds like the Planning Commission has sent us an ordinance.
Yes, that's correct, B plus.
And the charter allows them to send us an ordinance. That hasn't been moved or seconded by anybody on the city council.
Yes, it allows them to do that.
Okay,
That's
just
sort
so
of,
I'm clear.
Yes. I know it's confusing, but you basically have the two choices.
So in
now.
fact, a better moniker would be C. Rather than B plus. Because it's not, that makes it sound like it's this ordinance and you're saying it's not, it originated with them.
That's right. I don't remember who came up with B plus, but that's what we're stuck with.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to go back a bit and explain how we got those different versions, version B was the elements of an ordinance that the City Planning Commission had already reviewed and sent to Plum. This committee wanted to explore some other options as well in addition to version B, which included revenue that could be had, takedown provisions. This committee did not say it is going in those directions, but we simply wanted the analysis for us to make a decision whether we should move in that direction. The idea was to send it to CPC, so we had that already. We sent it to the city attorney because CPC had already reviewed it. CPC hadn't reviewed the elements within A, so we sent it to CPC with the idea that it would go there with some analysis and information upon which CPC can base their decisions. Now, I understand how these things go. Sometimes, I don't know, whatever reasons, but that analysis wasn't completed. Sometimes it's like, do we really want to go in this direction? Why should we spend so much staff time on this when we may or may not even go in that direction? But nonetheless, CPC decided to make amendments to version B, and you're right, it's a good marketing tool. B plus sounds like it's superior to B, but this happens all the time. Amendments are made to ordinances sent to them by Plum. But it is another ordinance that came back to us. But nonetheless, those items in version A were never fully analyzed. And as the chair of this committee, whether I agree or disagree with those items, I think I have a duty to have those and present those to this committee and to the public, and then make a decision as to what direction we should go in. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say, what are the options before us? How do we get here, and how do we come to a decision so that we can move forward, because this issue has been lingering for a very long time. So, proceed, please.
Okay, well, that was my entire presentation, so I don't have to do it anymore. I had jumped to the last slide of my presentation to sort of preemptively sort of get everybody on the same page of what your options could be today about A, B, and B plus. And the presentation is really not very long, and all it is to go over the differences. So let me just back up again, and I will go through what we're here for today. So this hopefully will get everybody up to speed. So the Plum ordinances that came out of this committee last year talked about consolidating the sign provisions into one chapter of the zoning code, talked about eliminating content-based language. It carried forward the ban on all off-site signs unless you're in a sign district. It talked about stricter criteria for establishing new sign districts, and that's both the larger ones, the tier ones, and the more campus-like ones, the tier twos. It had a sign reduction program and also talked about community benefits for new off-site and digital signs within sign districts. It had standards for signs within digital displays. It created a sign-specific adjustment and variance, and it also created heightened penalties for off-site sign violations. So that was versions A and B that came out of the committee. The items that you were just speaking to, the version A items that were in addition to the ones I had just talked about, were granting amnesty for illegal off-site signs limited to specific signs, an authority granted to our zoning administrator to allow a relocation of an off-site sign on the same lot, also an adjustment for digital displays on historic facades in existing sign districts, and also a permit to allow historic murals to be used on vinyl. Okay, so that was the whole difference between A and B, those 4 items. And then just some key provisions of both items. I just wanted to get everybody back up to speed also. Sign districts are a big component of both versions, A and B. So the picture on the left, all the colored areas are where sign districts could be allowed today, and on the right are the proposed areas where the sign districts could be allowed if any of the 3 versions were adopted. And the differences are that today you could have a sign district in any CRM zone and almost all of our R5 zones. That's a huge swath of the city. The proposed Tier 1 in the versions in front of you today talk about limiting where these Tier 1 sign districts could go to basically our regional centers and most of downtown, to LAX, the port, the zoo, to 5,000 linear feet. They also have to be 5,000 linear feet or 15 acres, and 20,000 or a 20,000 seat stadium or auditorium. A Tier 2 sign district, and again, these are for campus-like settings, large shopping centers, can go into any regional center. They have to be 3 acres or 50,000 square feet of non-residential floor area. They could be a non-residential elsewhere as long as they were 5 acres. And also they would allow off-site signs that cannot be visible from the public right-of-way or other private properties. The off-site sign reduction today in our code, we do not have one. There is no sign reduction program. In versions A and B, we talk about a 1-for-1 ratio, a 1 foot for 1 foot when you're putting up a static billboard, a 1 for 2 if you're putting up a digital billboard. That's in the versions A and B. Digital displays, we also have some new lighting criteria that are in the ordinances. 0.3 foot candles above ambient lighting, a daytime limit of 7,500 candelas, 8-second timing intervals, specific transitional standards, and a requirement for sensors for auto dimming. There's also a very detailed enforcement and penalty chart that talks about the size of the illegal billboard and how much penalty they could be judged against. So these are various numbers here, and that would be fairly large. So the CPC, when we brought this to them, they disapproved both of those versions, A and B, and they approved their own version, B+. What they added to their own version was they revisited the exemption for allowing the Los Angeles Football Club sign district to be a Tier 1 sign district. They increased their off-site sign reductions from what I had said earlier, the 1-to-1 and 2-to-1, to 5-to-1 and 10-to-1 for static and digital. So you put up 1 square footage of a new static sign, you take down 5 square feet of static elsewhere. If you put up 1 square footage of digital, you take down 10 square feet of signage elsewhere. They also expanded the sign reduction areas. Right now, it may occur within an area with a reasonable relationship to the new signage, in addition to within the sign district and the sign impact area. The CPC also changed the grandfathering date for pending sign districts from 2015 back to 2009. And they also borrowed the illumination standards that have been adopted in the historic Broadway sign district. And here's just further details of how we carried over the historic Broadway sign district metrics into the citywide sign ordinance. And then in addition to versions A, B, B+, all of these numbers, they also weighed in on a variety of other topics that had come in at different points during the process. They talked about allowing digital signs on rooftops of designated historic buildings within existing sign districts. They discussed the establishment of a conditional use permit or other discretionary process for off-site signs outside of sign districts. They talked about allowing off-site signs, both static and digital, outside of sign districts in general. They talked about allowing on-site digital signs citywide. They talked about allowing off-site digital signs on publicly owned property. They talked about establishing a cap for all off-site signs, static and digital, within and outside of sign districts, so that would be citywide. And lastly, they also talked about establishing a cap for off-site signs, static and digital, outside of sign districts. And they disapproved all of those proposals. And then we're back to the A, B, and B+.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to public comment now. But if anybody has questions or comments, we could entertain those now or afterwards. Okay. Thank you. We will go to Barbara Broidy, Gabriela Roscoe, Nikki Miner. Welcome.
Afternoon. My name is Barbara Brody, representing Westwood South of Santa Monica Boulevard Homeowners, West Side Neighborhood Council, and Coalition to Ban Billboard Blight. We've been working on this a long time with you, and I won't go back and make all the points that we believe or what we've been advocating for. We do hope you'll send Measure B+ to the City Attorney for drafting. We also request that you send direction to the City Attorney to review all signs without permits and those that are out of compliance with their permits for review for possible enforcement. That has not been done. The City Attorney has indicated a willingness to do that. We've watched this torturous process for many years. There is a 2002 ban on all new billboards. Any privilege to erect new billboards in this city and sign districts is a gift from this city to the billboard industry. And instead of being grateful, they still seek exceptions. They still seek mechanisms to put signs outside of sign districts, which will expose the city to costless and unnecessary litigation again and again. We look to you, our council members, to make sure we get community benefits and take down, not one or the other.
Okay. Thank you. Gabriela Roscoe, Nikki Miner, Cindy Starrett.
Hi, my name is Gabriela Roscoe, and I'm here with CLUE, Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice, and we stand with workers all throughout Los Angeles County. I appreciate the process that this council has gone through. I know it's been a very long one, and CLUE is a supporter of the proper process, but we believe that questions have been answered, and it has come to a time to make a decision, and we are in favor of moving forward. We are in favor of the billboards because of the income that it will bring to the city and because of the jobs that it will create. And CLUE advocates for good living wage jobs that uplift families and that uplifts the community as a whole. And I have the privilege of working directly with workers in a variety of industries, and I know firsthand that there are real moms and real dads that are counting on the jobs that would be coming from this project. And as we talk right now about waiting, there are real people that cannot wait any longer. They are counting on those jobs today to feed their family, to make sure they can maintain a roof over their head, all of the necessities that we count on. So I urge you to approve this project.
Thank you.
Good afternoon again, Nikki Miner. I've been busy here today. The billboard blight that is and could be spreading over Los Angeles is not a boon to the community, to residents, to anybody except the billboard industry. And whichever version you promote, it should be carefully monitored. The ordinances have to be enforced. I'll give you a little personal example. There used to be a digital billboard on Westwood Boulevard at Rochester. Rochester is just south of Wilshire. Then comes Santa Monica, then comes Olympic and Pico. Because of the angle of Westwood Boulevard, driving north on Westwood, that digital billboard flashed in drivers' eyes, and it was a public danger. I see a lot mentioned here about how you're going to put them and so forth. However, we have to consider when we put up these billboards about public safety and public distraction and keep them out of parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy Starrett, Benjamin Hanlon, and Samantha Martinez.
Good morning, council members. Cindy Starrett from Latham and Watkins here on behalf of Clear Channel Outdoor. The great majority of the city's existing off-site signs, and there are 9,000 faces identified in the inventory, are outside of sign districts. So if you dramatically reduce sign districts, and we don't oppose that, there needs to be another tool so people who live outside of sign districts have an opportunity to have sign reduction and public benefits in those communities. Relocation agreements are such a tool that was created by the state legislature in Section 5412. Dozens of other cities use relocation agreements, and we've given you some examples. We've submitted those today. In addition, a Court of Appeal case for the city of Corona has upheld the use of relocation agreements as not undermining a ban on signs. So you can maintain your sign ban, you can use relocation agreements. They only apply to grandfathered older signs, and they allow for both sign reduction and community benefits. It's a best practice of other cities, and we would very much like to work with the city to implement that tool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. Benjamin Hanlon of Latham and Watkins, also on behalf of Clear Channel Outdoor. We've appreciated working with you and planning over the many years that these issues have been before you, and we're pleased to see some progress. Regarding the proposed penalties, we are pleased that the city recognizes that tolling the penalties is necessary to protect First Amendment rights. It appears that the intent was to toll the penalties during the entirety of the city's administrative process, but this is not reflected in the text. Specifically, sections 14425A6 and A7 should make clear that the penalties remain tolled during any appeal to the Planning Director, Area Planning Commission, and City Planning Commission. Similarly, the ordinance should make clear that all penalties are tolled during the pendency of any legal challenge to an order to comply. We ask that these issues be clarified so that the First Amendment rights of all speakers in the city are protected. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Samantha Martinez, Derek Ryder, Teresa Marquez.
Thank you, Councilman. My name is Samantha Martinez, and I'm here on behalf of the On-Site Sign Coalition. We include the Greater LA New Car Dealers Association, the Motion Picture Association of America, VICA, the Chamber, CCA, the California Sign Association, and the International Sign Association. We urge you to instruct staff to complete your instruction from June 2015, which was to develop an appropriate review process or standards for on-site digital displays. On-site digital displays are very limited. They are used to identify the business, goods, and services available on-site. The ability to use on-site signs, including on-site digital displays, is an extremely important tool for your local businesses. We've worked collaboratively with the City Council, the Mayor's Office, staff, and stakeholder groups for many, many years to develop appropriate time, place, and manner guidelines for these signs. But as written, the code would prohibit on-site digital displays except in sign districts, which is not where businesses are located. Please instruct staff to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Huizar, council members. My name is Derek Ryder. I'm an architect who lives in Echo Park, and I have come before your committee as a supporter of the coalition to ban billboard blight, as a member of the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council, and as a member of the American Institute of Architects in opposition to the billboard industry's endless attempts to water down the draft sign ordinance. But today I come to you as the father of a 2-year-old who wants to make Los Angeles a better city for his daughter. My position is that I support the Planning Commission's version B+, and I'm against all of the giveaways and loopholes of version A and B. Please vote to approve version B+, and shepherd this much-needed regulation into becoming a reality. Specifically, yes to the takedown ratio of 1:5 and 1:10, no amnesty for illegal existing signage, no grandfathering of signed districts that have already filed applications during this process, no additional signed districts. What does the other side say? The billboard industry and their surrogates will cry that version B+ is unfair to the business community, that will cause job losses for billboard and production crews, and that new construction projects may not go forward due to the loss of revenues. These arguments are merely a wolf in sheep's clothing. In conclusion, the city has been going around and around on the draft sign ordinance for years. Please act now and make the decision on behalf of your constituents for the benefit of our city, and help me to provide a better public space for my daughter to grow up in. Thank you.
Teresa Marquez, Ted Wu, David Ewing, Robin Greenberg.
Hello. My name is Teresa Marquez, and I'm president of Mothers of East LA. And I'm here to plead with you in support B+. Believe it or not, I was able to understand the discussion earlier. And basically, the reason why I'm really here is that Boyle Heights is overstated with billboards. I went to take a picture of one specific billboard on Lorena and Whittier. And when I realized I took a picture of one, I actually took picture of 6 billboards in that corner. Oh, I mean, it's just overwhelming. And the other thing is the information. Many of the billboards that we have in Boyle Heights are about liquor, selling liquor, beer, a big old beer, always on the billboards. And that's really a nuisance in our community. Not just the many billboards there are, but you don't even see them after a while. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council people. My name is Ted Wu. I'm a resident of...
Mr. Wu, can you speak into the microphone, please? Yes, thank you. Otherwise, we couldn't hear you. Thank
you. 44 years ago, 1972, I ran into an industry that's the most shameless, illegally operated industry, and that happens to be the billboard industry. And I worked with all my heart to try to correct the situation, but to no avail. And I've never expected that they would come to today to ask for something that I'm ashamed even to say so. They want that the billboard without permit to be allowed to continue. Well, anyway, you see the gist of this. Thank you.
Thank you. David Ewing, Robin Greenberg.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is David Ewing. I'm here on behalf of the Venice Community Coalition. And we ask you to please approve, as appended by the City Planning Commission, B+, which was amended in October to reject amnesty, to keep digital within sign districts, and which also has more appropriate reduction rates for the sign reductions, converting to digital. So why the delay? I mean, this is, by my count, the 19th time this has been before this committee. It's been through how many mayoral administrations? 3, I think. How many planning directors? And we're still here. So, I think it's time. The thing about the digital billboards is they're very aggressive. They're assaultive. They're not passive. You can't get away from them. That's the difference between them and the regular ones. Thank you.
Thank you. Robin Greenberg, Lara Salagi, Dennis Hathaway.
My name is Robin Greenberg. I'm the president of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council. And we support the new sign ordinance version B+, as approved by the City Planning Commission on October 22nd, 2015, and urge the Plum Committee and the City Council to adopt that version. That prohibits off-sign signage in city parks and recreation facilities, sets administrative civil penalties for sign violators that will act as a real deterrent to illegal billboards, requires existing billboards to be taken down before any new off-site signs can go up in sign districts, restricts any new off-site signs, including digital billboards, to sign districts in 22 areas zoned for high-intensity commercial use, disapproves the grandfathering of any sign districts that weren't applied for in April 2009 and disapproves any amnesty for existing billboards that lack permits.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Salaggi. I'm also representing the Venice Community Coalition. And the billboard industry has been lobbying very hard to get more digital billboards. These not only create light pollution, but are a traffic safety hazard. And this has been reported most recently on television news. And there is a recent report by, there's a recent report in the council file by an independent traffic safety expert from Berkeley who analyzed studies of digital billboards showing traffic safety hazards. The most recent from Florida and Alabama showed a significant increase in traffic accidents in the vicinity of digital billboards. The City Planning Commission restricted billboards to a limited number of sign districts where they can be strictly regulated and their impact minimized. I urge you to follow their lead, approve B+.
Thank you. Dennis Hathaway, Allison Simard, Dan Silver.
Good afternoon. I'm Dennis Hathaway, president of the Coalition to Ban Billboard Blight, representing over 60 neighborhood and community organizations citywide. The motion to rewrite the sign ordinance was made in 2008. To date, the City Planning Commission has held 5 hearings, and this ordinance has been on the agenda of this committee 19 times, counting today. The business community, the sign industry, neighborhood councils, community groups, and concerned individuals have written many letters and given many hours of public comment. None of these groups have gotten everything they want, but the ordinance as approved by the CPC in October of last year represents a fair and balanced attempt at sign regulation. Version B+ fits squarely with the vision that's expressed in Chapter 9 of the planning document, Do Real Planning, about the importance of reducing visual blight. I urge you to approve it without further delay. Thank you.
Thank you. Allison is not here. Allison Simard? No? Okay. Dan Silver, Stuart Waldman, Elizabeth Hawley. Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Dan Silver, Endangered Habitats League, a conservation group dedicated to urban environmental quality as well, and I'm a resident of downtown LA. I would rather see a complete elimination of the billboard blight, but I recognize B+ as a reasonable compromise, therefore support it. There's many cities around the globe and internationally, nationally in California that are economically successful without all these billboards. Please consider the traffic safety implications of these digital signs. Does anybody feel that our roads are too safe, that we need more distracted drivers, and that we need more accidents? Thank you.
Thank you. Stuart Waldman, Elizabeth Hawley, Hector Flores.
Good afternoon. Stuart Waldman, president of the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, VICA. Happy to be here on behalf of VICA and the Greater San Fernando Valley Chamber in support of a comprehensive strategy for off-site digital advertising. Billboards are a vital tool for business. They are an effective and affordable method to attract customers, and more than 6,000 local companies use billboards. Digital signage maximizes the benefits of traditional outdoor advertising, allowing more businesses, nonprofits, and community organizations to use billboards. We also need to ensure that digital advertising is allowed on public and private property. Los Angeles is a competitive city, and our businesses need every tool they can use to ensure a dynamic economy. A cohesive set of regulations will allow businesses to make full use of billboards while protecting single-family neighborhoods. Thank you for your consideration on this issue.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Elizabeth Hawley, Legislative Affairs Manager at the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, or VICA, representing over 400 local businesses. I'm here today on behalf of VICA and the Greater San Fernando Valley Chamber with concerns about the treatment of on-site digital billboards. This ordinance would ban on-site digital signs except those within a sign district, treating them similarly to off-site billboards. In reality, on-site signs are different and need to be treated separately. On-site digital displays are limited, advertising the goods and services available on the premises. Last year, you asked staff to develop an appropriate review process or standards for on-site digital displays, but this proposal prohibits all on-site digital except in sign districts, which is not where the businesses who use such signs are located. The business community urgently needs a comprehensive digital billboards ordinance. We ask that you consider on-site digital signs separately and remove the ban from this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Hector Flores, Patrick Frank, Marian Dodge.
Good afternoon, Chairman Weezar and council members. I'm Hector Flores. I'm a property owner on 12th Street, right next to the freeway, the 110 freeway facing LA Live and Convention Center. We've been there for 16 years. Our company has employed hundreds of people in the Pico Union area. We would like the same opportunity as big corporations like AEG to advertise next to the freeway. Unlike AEG and others, we have patiently tried to obtain advertising the legal, not illegal way. We are only two brothers that own the property and the business, not a corporation. We don't have lobbyists. We're not donating hundreds of thousands of dollars to wherever that money goes. So please allow us to have the same advertising opportunity as LA Live. Thank you.
Patrick Frank.
Hi, I'm Patrick Frank. I live, work, and I vote in LA, and I urge the adoption of version B+ of the sign ordinance. I want to focus my remarks only on the unpermitted billboards and the question of amnesty, okay? The existence of unpermitted billboards is an affront to the rule of law. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's an affront to the idea of good government. And you add in the campaign contributions that sign companies have made, and it becomes an even worse picture. The company that owns the most illegal billboards is Lamar. Guess what? They're also the largest contributor to the campaigns of you folks. And all of you have benefited from campaign contributions from those illegal signs. It's kind of shocking that amnesty is even being considered. Amnesty will be a gift that keeps on giving to those sign companies. Amnesty will look like payback for past political contributions. Amnesty will cover up the past incompetence and laziness on the part of city employees and council members going back years. And moreover, it'll be an abdication of your responsibility. So what do I want here? I want you to do your job. I want you to regulate, govern, and you can do that best by passing version B+. Thank you.
Thank you. Marian Dodge, Bobby Pepe, Janet Carper. Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Marian Dodge, president of the Federation Hillside Canyon Associations with more than 250,000 constituents. The Federation has sought meaningful restrictions on billboards in the city of Los Angeles since before 2010. The Federation strongly urges you to approve version B+ of the sign ordinance that was adopted by the City Planning Commission on October 22nd, 2015. Besides being a visual blight in the city of Los Angeles, numerous scientific studies have shown that digital billboards are a serious driver distraction. For the sake of public safety, billboards need to be restricted per the B+ version of the CPC adopted sign ordinance. The Federation urges you to adopt the B+ version now. Thank you.
Thank you. Bobby Pepe, Janet Carper.
Good afternoon. My name is Bobby Pepe. I'm a homeowner in Silver Lake, committee member on the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council. The Silver Lake Neighborhood Council supports B+, approved by the Planning Commission, as do I. The only enthusiastic supporters of billboards I've ever met in Silver Lake is a GM from Outfront Media USA after he admitted that Outfront ordered the unpermitted hacking and topping of 9 city street trees at the Sunset Triangle Plaza at Christmas time this year, and Outfront's lobbyist Veronica Perez. On Sunset Boulevard, since Christmas, Lamar has had a billboard up at Manzanita. It has a portrait of a girl about 16 years old. It reads, "Full nude, exposed gentleman's club, wet spot." This is a message that Billboard Corporation sent to our children in Silver Lake, our sons and daughters. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Janet here? Stacy Miller, Dave Pimentel, and Arnold Ahrens.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Council members. My name is Stacy Miller, and I represent the LA Advertising Coalition, comprised of Clear Channel, Outfront Media, and Lamar Advertising. After 8 years and over 40 public meetings, we urge you to deny Version B and Version B+. Rather, we believe now is the time to develop, draft, and pass a comprehensive billboard reduction and modernization plan that will allow for the removal of the reduction of over 4,000 billboards in the city, can provide significant revenue, can allow each council district and their constituents to determine if digital billboards are the right fit for their community, to provide community benefits for underserved communities, to protect single-family neighborhoods, and allow for life-saving public messaging. We see this as a win-win. I've heard both sides say they want reduction, they want community benefit, and they want protection. Over 1,000 local municipalities in 43 states have done this. It's not new, it can be done, and we urge you to join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Pimentel, Arnold Ahrens.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Dave Pimentel, and I proudly serve as director of the United Firefighters of Los Angeles City, representing the 3,200 firefighters and paramedics of the Los Angeles Fire Department. This is the third time UFLAC has attended this committee meeting in support of a reasonable citywide sign ordinance regulating the billboard industry in Los Angeles. UFLAC supports the Los Angeles Advertising Coalition's position for a comprehensive, common-sense ordinance that supports both traditional and digital signs while respecting the public's concerns. Firefighters care about this issue because enacting a common-sense signage policy will generate desperately needed new revenue to the city. In a city of 3.9 million people and growing, we need to look for a new revenue that will provide the financial resources needed to improve our roadways, trim trees, house the homeless, and hire new firefighters for our neighborhood fire stations. In 2011, the fire department was decimated and critical resources were cut. As we begin to rebuild our department, the new revenue stream can aid in the hiring of new firefighters, restoring closed fire engines, and replacing old equipment. Thank you for your consideration of this critical issue.
Thank you. After Arnold is Brady Roberts, Ernesto Medrano, and Sarah Walsh.
Hi, I'm Arnold Ahrens, president of Ahrens Manufacturing. We're a very small business that's been in Los Angeles since 1906. I'm the third generation. Passing a reasonable digital billboard ordinance would allow us to remain competitive in this competitive market. It would critically provide an unimagined expansion opportunity which would allow us to significantly upgrade our equipment and hire more employees, better trained with increased pay. Our building is in a manufacturing area, not surrounded by homes, lofts, residences that might take offense. We would greatly appreciate the ability to move forward on this opportunity to help with our local economy with your reasonable support. This commission needs to approve a digital solution outside the sign districts in order to make it more efficient. Thank you for your consideration of my request. I hope that that soon we can actually have an ordinance that we can all agree on and we can operate in Los Angeles for another 100 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Brady Roberts, Ernesto Medrano, and Sarah Walsh.
Good afternoon, members of the City Council. My name is Ernesto Medrano, and I represent the Los Angeles and Orange County Building and Construction Trades Council, representing over 140,000 hardworking men and women. We're here to urge this body to move. It's about time we move a comprehensive policy that deals with this digital sign. This policy ought to be able to provide for signs outside of sign districts and public and private entities. We have a partnership with Lamar and Clear Channel, a partnership that means a project labor agreement, jobs that provide for high wages, high skilled workers, jobs that have good medical benefits for their families, for their children, and also a retirement, God forbid, a planning, something for the future. And we believe that the opportunity has been missed for many years to provide good revenues for this great city. It's about time we reach parity with the other cities in the surrounding area. I urge you to please move forward with a comprehensive, common sense policy that provides for digital signs. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Walsh, Ray Baker, Cheryl Parisi.
Good afternoon, Chairman Weezar and members of the committee. My name is Sarah Walsh, and I'm here today on behalf of the Motion Picture Association of America and our member companies to encourage the Council to take action to implement reasonable regulation of both on-site and off-site digital signs in the city. Digital billboards present an effective and attractive opportunity for our member companies to advertise their motion picture and television shows. This technology provides a convenient way to keep advertisements current and up to date. For example, following major awards or a highly successful opening weekend, a motion picture company can modify an advertisement on a digital billboard to reflect and incorporate an achievement of a particular film. We support an ordinance that will establish reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions for both on-site and off-site digital signage, and that will allow our member companies to take advantage of a technology that successfully improves the advertising of motion picture and television programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray Baker, Cheryl Parisi, Mario Marufo.
Good afternoon, Councilman. Welcome. Oh, sorry. My name is Ray Baker. I'm Vice President General Manager for Lamar Advertising. We're located in the Boyle Heights area. We operate over or almost 50% of the signs per the OSPIP, the Off-Site Sign Periodic Inspection Program. Most of those are located in residential neighborhoods or very close to residential areas. They're the smaller signs. We have professed on multiple occasions that we would like to take those down out of those smaller residential areas and move them to more commercial industrial areas. With the current B+ program, there's only 13 sign districts. I could only take down a handful. I have over 4,000. Our program is looking to go much larger and much more comprehensive, things that this city's really based its foundation on for a long period of time. In order for us to do this type of a program, we need A or B, something outside of sign districts so that we can really make an impact and tear down a lot of signs, employ a lot of people, and really make a change.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mario Marufo, not here. Felix Hernandez. Felix Hernandez. Rabbi Jonathan Klein. Isaac Fadlon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman Weezar and members of the committee. My name is Felix Hernandez. I'm a product of Lincoln Heights community just down the street. I graduated from Lincoln High School. This is my neighborhood. I am here today representing the Latino Diabetes Association as an active volunteer. The Latino Diabetes Association is dedicated to serving the needs of the community suffering from diabetes. Please know that we support the advancement of the sign ordinance that allows digital billboards outside of the sign districts as allowed by the community benefits provided to the city. Mr. Chairman Weezar and honorable members of the committee, there's no reason to keep this opportunity on hold any longer, especially when our city's most underserved communities can take direct benefit. And in the case of the Latino Diabetes Association, through various promotional billboard diabetes prevention awareness campaigns, this can surely help us to save lives. Please help us, and thank you for your support.
Hey, you said you went to Cathedral High School?
Abraham Lincoln Senior High School on Broadway.
Okay.
Council District 1. Thank you for your time.
Rabbi Jonathan Klein, Isaac Fadlon, Roger Mejia.
Hi, everyone. Rabbi Jonathan Klein, Clergy and Laity, United for Economic Justice. And I'm here to, interestingly, I'm in alignment with VICA, who most of the time I've opposed on things related to minimum wage and other policies. We've been supportive of raising the wage. And we're supportive of a comprehensive ordinance for signs because we know that this city desperately needs the revenue, quite honestly. We have had such a growth in homelessness in this community. There are people who are living on our streets who are not getting the support that a basic government institution needs to provide support for. We see a lot of homelessness that deserve the services that this city could provide if the revenue flows came into this city. So if for no other reason than to show compassion for all the people who are in the margins, who are struggling, who need good services and support, not to mention good jobs, please move this forward now.
Thank you. Isaac Fadlon, Roger Mejia, Dennis Dillon.
Good afternoon. My name is Isaac Fadlon. I'm a local business owner,
resident and a board member of the Melrose Business Improvement District. I also own a local property with a billboard erected on it, and I'm here to voice my strong support for a comprehensive sign ordinance that would allow digital signs outside of sign districts. This billboard income allows us to contribute to the local economy on a personal level while helping to promote and grow businesses in the Los Angeles area. We know you've been working hard on the issues of our city's billboards for years, and we truly appreciate the dedication. I understand the complexity of this issue and the need to be sensitive to everyone. Thousands of municipalities, as we know, across the nation have already enacted working sign ordinances that are providing community benefits like landscaping, street improvements, and sidewalk repairs, resources that we desperately need here in Los Angeles. As a member of the board of Melrose Business Improvement District, we go through this every day. We know and understand the need for these resources. It's time for LA to join these cities. I urge you.
Thank you. Roger Mejia? Not here. Dennis Dillon? Dennis Dillon? Not here. Anna Arahu? Anna? Not here. Angela Gibson? Angela Gibson. Leon Vaughn? Dustin Batten? Mike Campion?
Good afternoon. My name is Angela Gibson. I'm the president of the Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber of Commerce, better known as GLAC. GLAC is comprised of a collective of individuals who are dedicated to creating a robust African American community by lifting up its entire community. We're here to support safe and sane regulation of digital signage. We're mostly concerned and also concerned about the part of the revenue that will provide clear community benefits that can be used to fund improvements such as planting trees, fixing sidewalks, and providing increased police and fire protection. Of course, we are supportive of the benefit to the small businesses that are able to advertise their products and drive customers to their locations. But also, most importantly, for our community, billboards and signages are a way that we communicate. They tell us about lost children in the neighborhood and provide rewards to help solve crimes. They educate the community on issues of health, AIDS, and celebrate neighborhood achievements. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Leon Vaughn, Dustin Batten, Mike Campion. You could go ahead.
Good afternoon, committee members. I'm Dustin Batten with the Los Angeles County Business Federation, or BizFed, representing 275,000 businesses and over 3 million employees across the county. I am here to express support for the outdoor advertising industry's efforts to work with the city to find a legislative solution for digital signs in the city of Los Angeles. We urge the committee to consider these following items: support for digital outside of sign districts, support for public and private property options. The city should not have a quote-unquote exclusive. Support for relocation agreements. Support for community benefits. Protection of single-family residents. And finally, illumination and charge rate standards consistent with best practices. We recognize the very long history of this issue in the city of Los Angeles and encourage the committee and staff to work with the industry to restore the use of digital signs and craft a policy for the fair and reasonable use of digital signs and in a timely manner. This will ensure the valued community partners are able to continue supporting the Los Angeles civic and business community. Thank you.
Is Mike Campion here? Carlos Vasquez, Scott Zvankin.
Hi, I'm Mike Campion. I'm with the Operating Engineers, Local 12. We represent about 20,000 members. Our members out there are the people that run the heavy equipment that you see on construction sites anywhere you go in the city. Right now, we do have some work from these billboards down south in Orange County under PLA. And if this goes through, it's going to give our members a whole lot more work. We're in favor of seeing this moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Carlos Vasquez, Scott Zvankin, Darren French, Ken Matu.
Good afternoon, Councilmember Huizar and esteemed committee members. By way of introduction, my name is Carlos Vasquez. I'm here on behalf of Homeboy Industry. We're an organization that saves people's lives through jobs. And it's important that we voice our opinion that we fully support that that the committee supports billboards outside the sign district by way of community benefits. Because of Homeboy support from Clear Channel, Homeboy has been able to provide more information to our communities, and with digital signs, we will be able to reach a wider audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott Zvankin, Darren French, Ken Matu, Daniel Arguello, Piedmont Brown.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Con Matu, and I'm one of the founders of the nonprofit Hollywood Fringe Festival. The Hollywood Fringe is the largest performing arts festival in Los Angeles, taking place all over Hollywood during the month of June. We've put nearly $2 million back in the pockets of our local artists and venues since our inception in 2010. During that first festival, we filled 17,000 seats. Last year, due in part to our billboards, we nearly tripled that number and sold 50,000 seats. The Fringe community has seen a direct benefit from the power of billboards, and we support developing an ordinance that will implement reasonable regulations of both traditional and digital signs. These signs will provide revenue for the city as well as benefits to nonprofits such as ours. I urge you to take immediate action to move a sensible solution forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Piedmont Brown, Leslie Gersikoff, Patrick Owen.
Afternoon, committee members. My name is Piedmont Brown, represent the ironworkers of Los Angeles, Las Vegas. If the city council enacts such an ordinance, we will see millions of dollars coming into the city every year. We will also see jobs created in the trades as two of the major sign companies, Clear Channel and Lamar, have entered into a project labor agreement with the trades for both the building of the new signs and the demolition of existing static signs. In fact, we've already seen the benefits of these agreements outside of Los Angeles City. We are hardworking members, are building new digital signs in Long Beach and other communities with digital sign ordinances. The city of LA has been working on this ordinance for over a decade. It's time we caught up with the thousands of other cities who are embracing the benefits of digital signs and move this ordinance forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Leslie. Patrick Owen. Pastor Q.
Good afternoon. I'm Leslie Gersikoff. I'm the Executive Director of the Jewish Labor Committee Western Region, and I'm here in conjunction today with our friends at Clergy and Laity United for economic justice due to our shared compassion and commitment to bettering the lives of workers in Los Angeles. For that reason, we urge you to move forward on this ordinance so that the city will benefit from the revenues that these signs will bring in, that there'll be more local hire and in return local spending, which will add to the economic health of Los Angeles. There is another reason the Jewish Labor Committee educates on human trafficking and the possibility that these signs can offer in cases of abduction, in cases of some of the more tragic things that we've experienced here in terms of human trafficking are just immeasurable to our community. So we urge you to move forward quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick Owen, Pastor Q, Dan Andelon, James Johnson, Matt Warnock, G. Keith Stevens, Brian Levian, all of yous.
Good afternoon. I'm Pastor Q from the Church Without Walls, Skid Row, and also here with Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice. I'm here in support of the digital signs because I'm here in support of jobs. The mayor just announced $130 million for homelessness in Skid Row and around Los Angeles, and we know that all of that money has not been identified. So this could be a great revenue stream. Also, if you drive down in the inner city, no one asks us if we want signs. If you drive down Crenshaw, there's a billboard on every other building. And so we think that digital signs will help reduce some of the sign pollutions. No one ever asked us again in our community, did we want sign? So now I think it's time for us to bring equity into our city as it relates to signs. Thank you.
Thank you. Come up and identify yourself if I've already called your name.
Hello, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Matt Warnock. I'm with ICU Art and Creative Unity, and we are a hand-painted mural and sign company based in Los Angeles. We do not support the proposed ordinance as it continues to prohibit issuing permits for off-site hand-painted signage in LA. I represent local artists who seek an exemption or mechanism to help artists, small companies who employ artists, legally create, permit hand-painted signs and murals. And please note, work is painted on existing buildings without requiring any new or view-impacting structures. Our current ordinance only allows billboard companies to post digitally printed billboards, and in fact, these huge corporations are the only companies that have existing sign permits to trade out for new signage in these new signage districts. We employ many young artists to paint signs all over the country, but we can't operate in our own home due to these restrictions. You can paint these signs in New York, but you can't paint them in LA. As Los Angeles looks forward to the future, please give a nod to the past and carve out a niche in your new ordinance for hand-painted signs and murals.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, Keith Stevens. I'm here to speak in support of billboards, but in opposition to the ordinances drafted in version A, B, or B+. The sign reduction program was introduced in the late 90s, early 2000s, by this billboard industry. There was no evaluation as to what this market needed or could absorb. It was introduced as a way to stop property owners from bidding out their billboards between billboard companies and to cut down competition. The cap and replace was introduced by Ken Spiker and Associates on behalf of the industry to get billboards on the freeway and to take them down off of city streets. I would encourage the city to please survey the property owners who have billboards before you move forward with an ordinance where you're holding them responsible for what someone puts on their property. You're changing the fines, and this, the ordinance is structured is a taking from one property and giving it to another without compensation. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Andelon, James Johnson, Brian Levian.
Good afternoon, Brian Levion here. I'm here representing my family, who is ownership of a real estate property all over Los Angeles County. And the reason why I'm here is because of the relocation agreement that these billboard companies are coming to us and saying that it's very hard to renegotiate leases with them because they aren't giving us market rents, and saying due to the relocation agreement, we are, this is what we can do. So we would like as a property owner, to have some kind of benefit and have own some part of the steel and the sign, because we feel that that's what we have acquired. And I asked for further review of that as well. And the only reason why I'm here is because I heard it through word of mouth. If you can have someone or something, or have some kind of system that allows property owners to get a letter saying that this is coming up in the city hall, it will be great. Thank you so much.
James Johnson, Dan Andelon here? Nope, not here. Okay. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairman Weezar and committee members. James Johnson, Chief Political Coordinator for SEIU Local 721. We represent 10,000 city workers who are proud to work for the city of Los Angeles. In the interest of time, I simply want to say Local 721 associates ourselves with the comments made by the brothers from UFLAC about why now this is so desperately needed. We just recently negotiated in the coalition agreements, a revenue commission, some of the best and brightest minds in our city to try to figure out how we identify additional revenue. We're committed to that, but we're also committed to this. We just believe that 13, 14 years is too long for public policy. If there are thousands of other cities throughout our country who figured this out, we need to figure it out as well. So we support this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lynette Schwartz, Sharon Kaiser, Victor De La Cruz, C.J. Laffer. Lynette Schwartz, there you are. Come on down. Sharon Kaiser, Victor De La Cruz, C.J. Laffer.
Good afternoon, committee
Welcome.
members. My name is Lynette Schwartz. I'm here on behalf of Hollywood Heritage. I have a letter that I've submitted, but I'm going to summarize. Hollywood Heritage has a preservation interest in Hollywood, a regional center defined in the proposed citywide ordinance. Should the City Council adopt this version or any similar version of the citywide ordinance, along with supporting findings and/or determination that the project is exempt from CEQA, Hollywood Heritage requests that it be a consulting party to the city project process review when any area within Hollywood is defined as a proposed new Tier 1 sign district, a proposed amendment to the existing Hollywood sign district, or a variance on anything that's adjacent or part of a historic monument. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon Kaiser, Victor De La Cruz, C.J. Laffer.
Sharon Kaiser with Paramount Pictures. We are back before you again. Wanted to remind you that we have been at our location for over 90 years, and in September of 2011 we filed applications with the city for long-term master plan for our property to add more stages and production facilities. We included in our applications a sign use district to reflect the unique property that we have. We now have a final EIR, and our public hearings will start next month, so we ask again that we be grandfathered under the existing rules. And I can assure you that our sign district, even under the existing rules, will be back before you for a full public review. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Victor De La Cruz, C.J. Laffer, Richard Spicer? Welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. Victor De La Cruz, Manat Phelps, on behalf of the Hollywood Museum. I'm here in support of Council District 13's proposal to allow the owners of historic cultural monuments in existing sign districts to apply for adjustments that would permit digital displays on open panel roof signs. The Hollywood Museum poured millions of dollars into restoring the Max Factor building at Hollywood and Highland, and the last thing our client will ever do is to compromise the historic integrity of this beautiful city monument by slapping a big sign onto the historic Art Deco facade. But preserving the facade is also a catch-22 for the museum. We need signage to let people know we're there, to advertise special exhibits, and to supplement the revenue stream of a vital nonprofit educational institution. The solution: allow the museum to apply for a sign on the roof that wouldn't touch any of the property's character-defining features. Under Councilman O'Farrell's proposal, we would still have to go through CEQA and a discretionary process, so it won't be easy, but it is a brilliant compromise between our desire to preserve historic buildings and our desire to not render historic properties obsolete. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
My name is Richard Spicer. Thank you for having this hearing. I am representing the Los Feliz Neighborhood Council, its community impact statement. When this was done, it was called the Greater Griffith Park Neighborhood Council. We support the Neighborhood Council an interim moratorium on digital billboards. B, prompt removal of billboards constructed or modified without permits. C, prompt notice to neighborhoods of any ordinance or billboard, any request of digital billboards in their area, along with adequate time to study and comment. D, the city planning, this is supporting the city planning motion to study the safety hazards resulting from billboards, and E, resubmitting the 2000, we did a list of signs. There should be, very important, a sign unit. The sign should be confined to districts, and they should not be in public parks. Thank you very much.
C.J. Laffer, Alex Garcia, Domingo Pardo.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm C.J. Laffer with Manat Phelps on behalf of Regency Outdoor Advertising. As explained in our letters to your committee, the ordinance should allow takedown credit for off-site signage removed anywhere in the city, not just in designated sign districts or sign impact areas. This would encourage the reduction and removal of off-site signage throughout the city, particularly in low-density residential neighborhoods, which has been a long-stated policy objective of the council. None of the draft of the ordinance will currently accomplish this goal because the narrow eligibility criteria for sign districts means they will only be located in a few isolated areas. It won't encourage sign removal in large swaths of the city, including neighborhoods throughout the valley, West LA, Venice, and South LA, and they won't reduce signage in many low-income and minority communities. Instead, it will only reduce signage in the very areas of the city where signage is purportedly encouraged. Cities throughout the country utilize takedown programs with no requirement for removals occurring within the vicinity of new signage. Like these cities, Los Angeles should utilize its takedown provision as a way to reduce off-signage throughout the city, thereby broadly distributing the benefits. Thanks.
Alex Garcia. Domingo Pardo, Ana Araujo.
Hi, Alex Garcia, AMG Outdoor Advertising, Corona, California. I've been working here in Los Angeles for about 30 years. I own a small independent billboard company, and I'm opposing your draft for your sign ordinance because I think it's discriminatory towards smaller independent billboard companies. There's no room for growth for us, and your proposal there will completely kill our company. So I hope you reconsider when you do your vote here. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Dominga Pardo, and I'm here Dominga.
Sorry about that.
And I'm here to represent a parent coalition that is in the community of Wilmington. The parent coalition, we're very concerned because around the Avalon corridor, we have over 32 billboards. And that crosses Avalon, and there will be the city of Carson, and of course, Lomita. And it's unhealthy billboards. So we're trying to work in an initiative that maybe perhaps we can have within 1,000 feet a healthy billboards. And we understand the power of these billboards and also the power that you have in your hands to make this work together. So hopefully we can come to understanding, and we're here to work with the billboards. Perhaps we can use that to the positive feedback to our communities and place those healthy billboards in those communities, especially around the child cares and the Head Starts. As you know, we have great problem with obesity, and when we place those unhealthy billboards along those, is the subliminal messages that we're sending. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ana Araujo, I understand you're out of the room when we called you, and you're still out of the room again. Okay. So, Wayne from Encino, we got your card, but we had closed. We got your card for public comment. I apologize on this item. We had closed the public speaking cards. You submitted it late, but your public comment card is still available for general public comment. I do have council officers who want to speak. Caro Torosian and Renee Weitzer and Christine Peters. Renee Weitzer and Christine Peters asked to speak last, so you guys could figure that out. That's right. They misplaced your card again. So why don't you come up now? Come on up now. We misplaced your card again. Sorry about that.
Sorry, Renee. It's kind of a comedy of errors, isn't it? On both our parts. Good afternoon. I'm John Howland again with the Central City Association. I'd like to begin with sign district grandfathering. We believe the currently proposed amendment in A and B requiring sign districts to comply with the new sign reduction and community benefit requirements is not equitable. We actually support the taking it back to 2009 as came out of CPC. As you know, many of these sign districts have been in the queue for many years, and it is unfair to change the requirements late in the game. We recommend that grandfathered sign districts be allowed to comply with the sign reduction and community benefit provisions of the existing ordinance, which govern the establishment of sign districts when the grandfathered sign districts were initiated or applied for. Not only is this use the current sign reduction and community benefits provision a matter of fairness to the proponents of the various grandfathered sign districts, it also is a matter of fairness to the surrounding communities, which will continue to have the flexibility to determine what public benefits best promote aesthetics and traffic safety in their neighborhoods. And we would also encourage you to instruct staff to complete your instruction from June 2015, which was to develop an appropriate review process of standards for on-site digital displays. They're limited, and they help businesses with what happens in the business. Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne from Encino, I've been advised that we need to review our policies on closing public comment after public comment has begun and it's been closed. So you are up, and we should allow you to speak, I've been advised. So go right ahead, Mr. Wayne from Encino.
Yes. Fuck digital billboards. I hate the fucking things. I hate digital billboards. They're a cancer. They're a disease. When they started putting them up on Melrose, when they started putting them up over near Persian Square, there's fucking signs blinking all the time. You know what that is? That's the people from the 1%, the Donald Trump assholes telling me when I'm driving by, fuck you, Wayne, we control your city. Tear all these billboards down. Bulldoze them all. I want the first goddamn bulldozer. I'll bulldoze every one of them for you. I want them out of the city. These criminal assholes that are trying to grandfather this stuff, they're the mafia. They came in, they put them up, they know they were illegal. Make them take every one of those goddamn things down and send them fucking packing to New York and fucking Nevada.
Thank you for staying on topic for once, Mr. Wayne Provenci. But for those of you who are new to this, we do have a very robust First Amendment, and we've been advised on what can and cannot be said, how they express themselves. And secondly, we are reviewing, I need to give notice on our rule that's in this committee that once we begin public comment, an item public comment is closed, we can no longer submit cards, but I need to provide notice, and that notice was not provided. Thank you. So, Caro Tarashian and Renee Weitzer, Christine Peters, any of you want to come up? And I don't want to play favorites because all of you want to speak last, so you choose.
All love each other.
Okay.
Renee Weitzer for Councilmember David Rue.
Okay.
Council members Mike Bonin, Paul Koretz, and David Rue submitted a letter this morning supporting version B+. We really feel that the City Planning Commission did the right thing in supporting version B+, and that is the only way to protect the city from visual blight. So we hope this committee finally moves this forward after 16 years to the full council with version B+. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Caro Tarashian and Christine Peters. Caro not here, right? Here? No? Okay.
Good afternoon, council members, and thank you for your time. Christine Peters for Council Member Mitchell O'Farrell. Thank you so much for your previous support for the council members' requests for an amendment for the sign district back in December of 2014. However, at CPC in September and October, they removed all of the amendments that all of the council offices submitted, and including our amendment for historic cultural monuments in existing sign districts. So the council member respectfully asks for your support to reincorporate that amendment that you agreed on over a year ago, and that you take it under consideration for whichever option you choose to have move forward, whether it be version A, version B, or version B+. The thought behind creating this adjustment for historic buildings in existing sign districts is that when a building is restricted in the character-defining features that merited it having a nomination in the first place, oftentimes the sign cannot be placed where it is allowed in the sign district because it will mar the character-defining features of the building. So therefore, we would like the director to have the ability to make a discretionary action to allow the building to either be on a facade or a roof so that it will still be able to support the building and support the maintenance of the building, but not mar the historic character of that building. We also support the grandfathering that Paramount Studios is requesting. Their EIR is in the process. They've been submitted since 2011. CPC was trying to reverse that back to 2009, so that would not work for our stakeholder. Again, thank you, and I have copies of the council member's letter and the language for the adjustment that was included in version A that CPC removed. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Caro, you're back. Welcome. Council District 2.
Honorable council members and chair, Carl Truss and planning director for Councilman Paul Kokorian. The council member had submitted a letter to the City Planning Commission that you guys have a copy of. We'd like to, if you guys are going to be requesting report backs from the department, we'd like the letter to be referenced as potential report backs also. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. So that was our last remaining public comment card. I think it was worthwhile to get an update from the planning department and to once again hear from the public on the different views on this as we move forward. Planning Department, can you come up to the podium, please? Just a couple of questions, again, to remind us where we are. And a distinction between what we have before us. So what we have before us, as was clarified earlier by Mr. Fuentes' questions, is that, well, you have them up there as well, some of the options that we have. That's where you want to be, right? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, right. So just to clarify on version B and version B+, the strategies for reducing existing signs and enforcement of illegal signs, with respect to version B, what's on there and what's on there for version B+?
Well, with regards to reducing signage in both versions, in all three versions, there's a takedown ratio that would be required if there was a new sign going up in a sign district. So with the versions, so here we go. With the versions that came out of Plum last year, that sign ratio is 1-to-1 for static, which means you put up a static billboard, you have to take down a static billboard, or in the terms of the ordinance, 1 foot per 1 foot. Digital billboards, you put up a digital billboard, every square foot you put up of a digital, 2 have to come down of static or digital. And in the version, what's that? It's square feet.
Mr. Marquis. And as a reminder, we have new council members on this committee, as we did on CPC, so that's a good refresher for a lot of us. Ms. Harris-Dawson, you had a question as well?
If you replace a static billboard with a digital billboard, does the static billboard that you replaced count towards your takedown?
If you put up a static billboard, like if you put up 1 square foot of a static billboard within a sign district, you would be required to remove a static billboard or 1 square foot of a static billboard.
Right. So I'm a company. I have a static billboard at an intersection. I take that static billboard down and I replace it with a digital billboard. Does the static billboard that I remove count towards my removal?
Yes, that would count towards your removal, but you would have to do more than 1 for 1 if you're putting up digital.
So in the case that you're replacing, the replacement will really be 9-to-1.
Okay, now you're talking about a version B+. If you're talking about the versions that came out of here, it would be, if you put up a 100 square foot digital billboard within a sign district, yes, that takedown of that static billboard would count, but you would have to take down 2. If you did it in the version B+ version, you would have to take down 10.
Got it.
I'm sorry, we can't entertain questions from the audience, otherwise it turns into which wouldn't be bad, but there are rules. Yeah. And what would, in the current version B, how many existing billboards would be required to be taken down when a new billboard is put? You answered that, right?
In version B, it's the 1 for 1 or 2 for 1.
And the version B+?
It's 10 for 1 and 5 for 1.
Okay. And what type of public benefits will we get under either one? Are there any public benefits?
There are public benefits you could also do for replacement. They have not yet been spelled out.
They haven't been spelled out yet. We haven't finished spelling out what those public benefits should be. Right?
Correct.
Okay. I think we anticipated some public benefits on that as well. And are there any zoning?
We talk about eliminating blight. We talk about street furniture, improving aesthetics, and traffic safety.
Okay, those are the general areas.
We have categories. It would probably have to be done on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. Okay. And what would be the zoning restrictions to protect residential neighborhoods? Are there any under either version?
Yes, I have a slide for that.
Then I'll go to you, Mr. Fuentes.
Oh, I keep going in the wrong direction here. Okay, well, we do have For the larger sign districts, the tier ones, they are restricted for being within 500 feet of a residential zone, the river, or other scenic vistas. The smaller sign districts, the tier twos, the campus-like settings, they are restricted to that signs cannot face any public right-of-way or another piece of property, property under a different jurisdiction.
Gotcha. Okay. Mr. Fuentes?
Just a clarifying question. So in sign reduction and in community benefits measure, you're eligible for either one of those, irrespective of B or B+, if you're in a sign impact area. Is that correct?
If you're in a sign district, yes.
Right. So you can't have a sign impact area without a sign district.
Yes, that would be accurate.
Does Council District 7, would it be eligible for any sign districts? By my sense, I'm not going to be
if
eligible.
If you're in a regional center, you would be eligible.
I don't have regional centers. And by my estimate, there's probably 4 council districts that are in the same situation than I am. I can only speak to CD7. So if I wanted to, in either program, B or B+, avail myself of any of this, I'm going to be left out.
Okay, here's the map, so I'm not sure exactly where you're. I think you're pretty limited where the
So
regional
Northeast
centers
San Fernando
are.
Valley,
There's
CD7?
not much up there, maybe one little sliver, but you would be left out from creating a new sign district that would be tier 1. You would be able to have a tier 2 sign district, which would be a campus-like setting
So
for a
can you
larger.
show me where I could do a tier 2?
Well, a tier 2 would be allowed in all commercial manufacturing zones, similar to, and not exactly similar to the larger area on the left that is allowed today, yet you could not have a sign that faces a public right-of-way or another piece of property that's under a different ownership.
But I can't, so tier 2, maybe I can create those types of sign districts, but I can't get any sign reductions or community benefits unless I'm in tier 1.
Yeah, that would be correct.
So I can't take advantage of any of the sort of benefits that either proposal would have.
That would be correct.
Do we have any sense as to what other council districts would be in the same situation that I'm in, that I can't reduce signs or get community benefit?
Well, it looks like a great deal of them would be impacted other than CD14 and maybe CD10. It does extremely limit where sign districts could be placed if you go into only regional centers and very high intensity zones.
If Mr. Fuentes would pardon me, I just point out along the same theme, 8, 9, and 10 all have over 500 billboards each. The only other district that has over 500 is 14, where the main sign districts are. So basically, the takedown part of the community benefit wouldn't apply to the places that have the highest concentrations of billboards.
Because you would not be able to have a new sign district.
There's not a sign district.
Right. Well, yes, you're correct. Although it does, it might also be dependent upon what we call a sign impact area. That may go outside of a sign district area. There may be a sign impact area that goes outside of a regional center.
But you have to share a boundary of the sign district in order to be in the sign impact area.
That has not yet been determined through this ordinance.
I think as drafted in the ordinance for tier 1, it says, city attorney, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have to share at least one boundary of a sign district in order to be eligible.
That is correct. Share at least one.
Okay. So I think to your point, Mr. Marquis Harris-Dawson, parts of, probably 8 is completely out of luck. 9 has Staples Center. So I don't know if they wouldn't share a boundary either. So the parts that are the most impacted also probably wouldn't avail themselves of either thing. So irrespective of sort of the ratios, which I think is a really good conversation and important to have, Mr. Chair, my biggest challenge is that if I want to improve the aesthetic of my district, I can't. And while I don't historically share some of the same beliefs that my predecessor had, Mr. Alarcon also brought up some of these same points with real interest in the residential impacts, because that's where my signs are. They're small, they're wedged in buildings and communities. Irrespective of our beliefs of the First Amendment, I can't get rid of those, and neither policy, B or B plus, helps me.
And I think, Mr. Fuentes, that's precisely where we're at. Where we are moving forward with B and B plus, I think for those areas within sign districts, we did a fairly good job for takedowns and community benefits, et cetera. It looked good, but we wanted to explore what something would look like outside of that, and that's a type of information we never really got to say, should we do this, should we not? And that's where we're at right now. And I think our next step should be for this committee is to get that information, economic data on signs, what anything would look like, to see at least we could make a decision if we want to go down that path. But we haven't been put in that place to do that.
I mean, it seems like if you're on the west side of Los Angeles, it's pretty evident sort of what works, given sort of the testimony. But if you're in, I think, by my estimate, in the planning department, if it makes sense, Mr. Chair, to report, to, as you said, with a finer pencil on this, I think 15, 8, 7, and 6 are out of luck. That's almost 40% of the council districts in the city.
Yeah.
Just by my sort of recollection of what the city looks like. To put a finer point on that, I think would be really important, because otherwise we've got a sort of a one-size-fits-all approach that's not going to fit 40% of the city.
Okay. Well, any other questions or comments? I'd like to give some direction to staff on to some answers some questions we want to get responded.
Yeah, I would just associate myself with the comments of Mr. Fuentes and just note that the issue of sign blight is in the media largely talked about in places in dense sort of commercial areas. There isn't a lot of talk about it in residential areas, and almost every major north-south corridor in South LA, especially where there's absentee owners, I mean, we have duplexes where there are billboards in the front yard, literally, like every 2 blocks. And, I can't imagine that these things even generate any revenue, but it's impossible to do anything about them, and it seems difficult to consider something so broad without dealing with that sort of big, giant sore thumb in our part of the city.
So it's certainly clear that we need to find a way to reduce the number of billboards in all the neighborhoods across the city, as Mr. Fuentes and Harris Dawson pointed out. But equally important is, what are the funding mechanisms to make sure we have enforcement in those areas as well and across the city? And we really don't see any mechanism to do that now, and I think we really need to explore that, or even to find ways to get revenues from any of this that could assist with that enforcement program. And those are the types of things we need to explore. So with that, I'd ask the committee to chime in, but I'd like to ask the CLA, the planning, and CAO to provide a joint written report within 30 days where we have planning to provide specific zoning regulations necessary citywide so that on and off-site signs do not negatively impact our residential areas, and the CAO to provide revenue analysis that includes the amount of fees collected citywide from all existing billboard signs in recent years and broken down to annual and per sign averages and estimated revenue figures for what other nearby cities collect annually and per sign via whatever mechanisms they may employ. And also the CLA to provide an analysis of available mechanisms that would best accommodate the policy goals of reducing billboards citywide, developing an appropriate enforcement program with ample funding, and securing a revenue sharing model to help fund other citywide policy initiatives.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
On the CAO part of the revenue analysis, forgive me, I didn't know if you mentioned the city attorney's office, but is it legal for us to get into a contract to accept these revenues, given sort of the nature of Prop 26 and 218? I don't know if the state allocation relocation mechanism that was spoken to by some of the advocates is that tool, but for me it'd be very interesting to, assuming that Council District 7 can participate in a community benefits package, it'd be really interesting to know what the legality surrounding the revenue generation is, and to make sure that we're bulletproof there, because if we're going to begin to use that as part of our forecasts for, you name the general fund priority, we don't want to start counting those chickens before the eggs, counting those eggs before the, I don't know how.
We got it.
All right.
If we got the city attorney answer that question as a supplement to that report, please. Any other questions or directions we might want to give at this time, so we're back here in 30 days? And it is the intention of this committee to have this ordinance as one of the priorities in terms of resource allocation so that we adopt something in the near future. We had set out a table before to explore all these possibilities. It kind of went sideways, and we want to now prioritize this as something we want to focus on.
I'm sorry, and as a courtesy, we should probably, if it's okay with the chair, ask for Mr. O'Farrell's amendments to be brought back so that we can have them for conversation, especially in light of his concerns about the impacts on heritage and conservation type buildings.
Well, I think they were in version B originally, right? And
They're in version A.
Version A.
Version A.
Oh, they're in version A. Okay.
So we don't have them in B or B plus.
Oh, okay. We would like to, I think in your analysis, in your report, if you could do an analysis on those items so that we keep those in the conversation, should we move in that direction? I fully support the historical portion of that, so that, certain signs in those historical buildings are worth looking at, so.
Mr. Chair, my apologies. I have a committee transportation meeting in my district with about 100 people. If we're not going to be voting,
we're not voting. We're just giving direction on that.
Thank you,
so,
sir.
okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think that would do it on this item. We will continue this item for 30 days with those directions from staff. Okay. Any other items on the agenda?
Public comment, Council.
Public comment. Wayne from Encino, and Mr. Encino, you know the rules. You cannot speak on an item that is on today's agenda, but you could speak on anything else that pertains to planning and land use. Welcome.
Good. Where's the criminal? Mitchell Englander, where's the criminal at? He was here, and now he's gone, and he's not running for office. Where is he? Upstairs. I was in the Economic Ad Hoc Committee, and he wasn't there. You're paying this man $170,000 to do what? Nothing for our city. You're paying him to run for office. Suspend this piece of garbage without pay while he tries to steal Mike Antonovich's seat. Vote no on Mitchell Englander for the Board of Supervisors. Anybody but Englander. This is proof again. 2 committee meetings. He just dishes it off so he can run for office. Vote no on Mitchell Englander. And then after he comes back here from his defeat, recall Mitchell Englander. Sign the petitions. Recall Mitchell Englander.
That does not have anything to do with planning and land use.
It does. He's on the committee and he never comes here.
Thank you very much, sir.
Marquisi's always here. He's never
Anything
here.
else on the agenda, Mr.
No, Council.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. It's a busy meeting when you have this stuff. It's all.
Hey, Sean. My name's Matt Warnock.